If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 81, We Succeeded. Night was approaching, and the number of civilians arriving at the relief point had gradually decreased. Not many were taken in today, only a little over 200. It was estimated that a single ship would be enough to transport them to the land of Whirlpools tomorrow. So, tonight, they would still rest at the border of the land of fire. After the Uzunin distributed tents and blankets, they separated the refugees by age and gender. Of course, families were allowed to stay together. After dinner, the refugees received their allocated charcoal and quietly settled into their tents. Perhaps out of fear, they huddled together in small groups inside the tents, sitting silently. The cold was slowly driven away by the burning charcoal. The children, no longer suffering from hunger or cold, wore satisfied expressions as they clung tightly to their parents. "Mom, will we never freeze or starve to death again?" A boy around 6 years old looked up at his mother with hope, then lowered his head, his voice tinged with sadness. "It's just too bad. Big brother Aki couldn't make it." His mother stroked his head sorrowfully but said nothing. His big brother Aki had starved to death along the way. Such things were all too common. Too many had frozen or starved to death on the journey. The older refugees wore expressions of worry mixed with longing. What did the land of Whirlpools want from them? Why were they treating refugees so kindly? Not only were they given enough to eat, but the thick porridge even contained meat. At night, they were given charcoal and clothing. All of this felt too unreal. They were just a group of homeless refugees. Everyone felt this was too unbelievable. They stayed quiet, not daring to cause any trouble, afraid of losing what they had. After all, the cold and hunger were terrifying. And maybe what the Uzunin said was true. "Lord Shikaso, this is the charcoal distributed by the Uzunin," a Konohanin reported. "Charcoal?" Nara Shikaso asked doubtfully. "Bring it here." He hadn't expected the land of Whirlpools to give them charcoal. Nara Shikaso picked up a piece and examined it, frowning. This shape? Where did it come from? The pieces were so uniformly shaped, as if deliberately cut this way. Could it really be dug up from the ground? What kind of charcoal was this? Do the Uzunin have a lot of it? Nara Shikaso asked, still frowning. Both the land of Whirlpools and Konoha knew their alliance was only superficial. Yet, the Uzunin had still given them charcoal, something so precious in the middle of winter. Yes, even the refugees received some, the Konohanin replied. And they were told they could request more if needed. This was truly unbelievable. Even the refugees had been given some. Konoha, as the leader of the 5 great shinobi villages, only provided refugees with thin porridge, no meat, barely any rice grains visible, let alone something as valuable as charcoal. Could the land of Whirlpools have discovered a large natural coal deposit? Nara Shikaso muttered, frowning. This needs to be reported to the Hokage. He pulled out the report he had just written and added. Suspected discovery of a large, usable natural coal deposit in the land of Whirlpools. Lord Shikaso, should we use it? The Konohanin pointed at the charcoal. The weather was freezing, and their own coal reserves were nearly exhausted. If they could rely on the land of Whirlpools' supply, maybe they wouldn't have to endure the cold this winter. Light it, Nara Shikaso said with a nod. But save some. He would bring a sample back for the Hokage to examine. What kind of charcoal was this, with such a uniform shape? Yes. Watching the Konohanin leave to light the charcoal, Nara Shikaso sighed. I wonder if the Hokage will approve the reward money this time. If not, what would they do? And what about the Uzunin's antics? How would Konoha's higher UPS respond? For now, it wasn't causing any losses to Konoha. In fact, it was even improving Konoha's reputation. But sending shinobi to deal with it every time was troublesome. And Nara Shikaso still didn't know if the Uzunin had some hidden scheme. First, I'll ask the Hokage how to handle this. Remember to arrange for shinobi to escort the first group of refugees back tomorrow, Uzumaki Jun instructed the Uzunin below. Bring my specially made kunao. If anything happens, activate them immediately. Yes. The orphans must also be properly cared for. Although the orphanage hasn't been built yet, the staff must be fully prepared. You can even select some civilians to help, whether they're shinobi or not doesn't matter. As for Yakushi-nan, arrange for her to study the medical ninjutsu of the land of Whirlpools. The medical ninjutsu of the land of whirlpools relied heavily on life force as a shortcut, so their techniques weren't particularly advanced. Perhaps the rise of the land of whirlpools medical technology would start with Non. After all, she was the one who would replace Tsunade as the next head of the medical department. Of course, it would be even better if they could recruit her adopted son in the future. Medical ninja with a scientific mindset were rare. Though they didn't understand why Lord Jun valued that little girl so much. The shinobi below paused for a moment but still replied respectfully, yes. Uzumaki Jun thought for a moment, checking if he had missed anything. If domestic supplies run low, have Gato make another trip. Konoha will probably send word in the next few days. If they refuse to let us recommend talent to them, comply. If not, ignore it. Everything had to be justified. As long as they followed the rules here, Konoha wouldn't have an excuse to cause trouble. Yes. That's all for now. Uzumaki Jun looked at the people below. Before leaving, patrol every tent to ensure nothing unexpected happens. Land of whirlpools. We succeeded. We succeeded. The elders' eyes were bloodshot. After so many days without rest, even the Uzumaki clan known for their vitality couldn't hold up. But as they stared at the furnace-like object before them, joy spread across their faces. Haha! We finally succeeded. That's right, we actually managed to inscribe it successfully. Now! All the elders cheered. No, we've only succeeded halfway, the elder said, frowning at the furnace. We still haven't achieved the temperature control Lord Jun mentioned. As for the temperature, how do we solve it? And they still didn't know how long it would last. Maybe adjusting the quality and speed of chakra input could work. One elder suggested. But it's unstable, and we haven't succeeded in storing chakra yet. Don't rush. Take it slowly. Since we've succeeded in the first step, the rest will follow. If only we had Lady Mito's yin seal. Maybe we could learn something from it. Don't worry. Lord Jun said he'd find a way to get it. But in a way, it's also a legacy. Would Lady Mito give it to us? She probably would. After all, she provided the multiple shadow clone technique and mutually multiplying explosive tags. Maybe. The elder sighed, looking at them. He didn't know whether Lady Mito would give the yin seal to the Uzumaki clan. Last time, they had obtained the two forbidden techniques mutually multiplying explosive tags and multiple shadow clone technique perhaps out of Lady Mito's guilt. Guilt for not being able to help the land of whirlpools. Guilt for Konoha refusing to aid the land of whirlpools. But now, the land of whirlpools had entered an era of peace. Chapter 82, The money isn't settled yet, don't cause trouble. Early morning. The refugees, led by the Uzunin, boarded the ships with nervous expressions. They didn't know whether their destination would be heaven or hell. But no matter what, they no longer wanted to live that painful, terrible life. So their hearts were filled with both hope and unease. They hoped life in the land of whirlpools would truly be as the Uzunin described, or even slightly worse than what they said. As long as there was no war, and they didn't starve or freeze, that would be enough. This was their only prayer. What's wrong? Uzumaki Jun looked at Yakushi Non, who was angry and ignoring him, and smiled. You look upset. Probably because he had deceived her last time when recruiting people, which made her angry. Yakushi Non turned her head away, still ignoring Uzumaki Jun, as if to say, you lied to me, I'm very angry. Uzumaki Jun rubbed Yakushi Non's dry, yellowish hair and smiled. Not everything was a lie. At the very least, life in the land of whirlpools will truly be very good. This was his promise as the leader of the land of whirlpools. The country would definitely become a much better place. Yakushi Non, her hair being ruffled by Uzumaki Jun, stared at him blankly. You're a ninja. Yes, Uzumaki Jun nodded but didn't tell her his rank. Then, Lord Jun. Yakushi Non asked cautiously. You'll understand when you reach the land of whirlpools, Uzumaki Jun smiled. I believe you'll become a ninja too in the future. An excellent medical ninja. Really? Yakushi Non's eyes lit up. She also wished to have power to protect her family, but then her expression dimmed again. I hate war. And thus, she also detested ninjas. War will disappear. The ninja world will get better and better, Uzumaki Jun sighed. Currently, war in the ninja world was inevitable. On one hand, it was due to resources and military reasons. On the other hand, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu were lurking in the shadows. That filial son would do anything to revive his mother. Ever since Hashirama sold the tailed beasts like livestock, the seeds of war had already been sown. Really? Yakushi-nan widened her eyes. Of course, Uzumaki Jun rubbed her head. She was such a big-eyed, adorable little girl now. How did she end up wearing glasses later? Was it because of studying medical ninjutsu? Uzumaki Jun sighed inwardly. Truly, there was a reason why she became a top student. The ship is about to leave, Uzumaki Jun said. See you in the land of whirlpools. Yakushi-nan nodded, smiling with her eyes narrowed. See you then, Lord, no, Brother Jun. Hokage building. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the intelligence report sent from below, took a puff of his pipe, and sighed helplessly. What exactly is Uzumaki Jun trying to do? Introducing scum to Konoha? Was this kid trying to stir up trouble? While it did boost Konoha's reputation in a way, Narashikaso was complaining about how troublesome it was, and who would want such scum? What a headache-inducing kid, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Order them to stop this behavior immediately. At this stage, they couldn't afford to clash with the Uzumaki clan. After all, Lady Mito was already old, and the issue of the Nine Tails needed to be resolved soon. If something unexpected happened at this time, Konoha might have to restart the Jinchuriki experiments among ordinary people. Yes, replied the Anbu Jonin. Dismissed, Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand, took another puff of his pipe, and frowned. What is Danzo trying to do? He actually sent people to attack the Uzunin at this time and even committed such atrocities as killing civilians. Hadn't he already warned him? Not only did the operatives die, now he had to compensate for the losses? What a headache, Sarutobi Hiruzen rubbed his forehead. This money should definitely come out of Danzo's own pocket. He has to take responsibility for his own mistakes. But, damn it! Magnetic release traces were found on the dead root ninjas. What was going on? Had the land of whirlpools formed an alliance with Tsunagakuer? That couldn't be possible. Not only was Tsunagakuer geographically very far from the land of whirlpools, but their economy. They barely avoided fiscal deficits by relying on the second Kazekage socialite-style magnetic release to sell gold dust. Tsunagakuer was extremely poor. Otherwise, why would the first Kazekage cry about poverty at the 5-Kage summit and beg Hashirama for money? This incident was still mocked by people today. If Hashirama hadn't intervened back then, the first Kazekage might have been beaten into calling him daddy. No money, no strength, yet still daring to make demands? So, what could the land of whirlpools possibly gain from allying with Tsunagakuer? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned in thought. Is it to deal with Konoha? His eyes sharpened at this thought. Someone! Here, Hokage-sama, an Anbu appeared instantly. Increase intelligence gathering in the land of wind, especially any information related to the land of whirlpools. Report everything. Yes. I hope it's not what I'm thinking, Sarutobi Hiruzen muttered, watching the Anbu leave, then took another puff of his pipe. Otherwise, Konoha would have no choice but to take action against the land of whirlpools. After sending off the first batch of refugees, the Uzunin continued staying behind to recruit more. Uzumaki Jun frowned at the unusually sparse crowd of refugees today and murmured, "This won't do. If things continued like this, how long would it take to gather enough refugees? If only he had printed more recruitment posters and sent the Uzunin to advertise everywhere. But how many refugees could even read? For now." Uzumaki Jun glanced at the nearby Konohanin and called out to the Uzunin. "Go and spread the word to nearby refugees." If the Uzunin left at this time, the Konohanin would surely send people to follow them. After all, given the last incident, it cost too much money. And if the Konohanin followed, it would be much easier for the Uzunin to recruit people. After all, Konoha's reputation was still quite good, while the land of whirlpools, a small country, probably wasn't even known to many. So, to reassure people about following them, they needed a guarantor like Konoha. Otherwise, forced relocation would only be a last resort. So, Narashikaso frowned as he watched the Uzunin leave for some unknown reason. He signaled to a few nearby jonin. "Follow them." He didn't believe another accident would happen. Before the Hokage's orders arrived, maintaining peace was the best course of action, especially The money issue wasn't settled yet. What a pain, Narashikaso grumbled. He just wanted to peacefully get through this month. Why did the Uzunin always like to stir up trouble? What were they planning this time? Can't they just go to Konoha quietly now? Why was this 7-year-old kid still here? Things had stabilized. Shouldn't he be heading to Konoha by now? Or, what a detestable child. Chapter 83, The current situation is all the fault of the Konoha ninja. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Seeing the tense refugees before him, an Uzunin slowly approached and carefully said, I'm not here to harm you. However, none of the refugees believed him. They still looked at the two ninja with fear and tension, and some even had hatred in their eyes. After all, the reason they were in this situation was all because of these ninja. If not for the ninja, if not for the war, perhaps they wouldn't have had to leave their homes, suffering from cold and hunger in this heavy snow. Seeing the fear and hatred in their eyes, the Uzunin sighed. If Uzushiagakure were destroyed, they might end up like this too, or even worse off than them. Meanwhile, the Konohanin's eyes also showed sorrow. These were citizens of the Land of Fire, after all. Yet now, because of the Konohanin sighed inwardly. Ninja only need to follow orders. Perhaps ninja shouldn't think too much, but seeing this scene, they couldn't help but feel a pang of emotion. This might just be pity for life. But it was precisely this feeling that kept them from losing themselves. It reminded them that they were still human, still alive. War was truly a detestable thing, no matter who you were, because you could never imagine your friends or loved ones gone, just like that. And Ninja-sama, what do you want from us? An elderly man with graying hair tremblingly stepped forward, fearfully asking, "We don't be nervous, old man," the Uzunin said with a smile. "We mean no harm. Then, what do you need us to do?" The elder relaxed slightly, but the fear on his face remained as he cautiously asked, "Ninja-sama." "We don't need you to do anything," the Uzunin continued smiling. "Trust us, we mean no harm. Then, could you give us some food?" Hunger and cold were the most terrifying things in the world. Perhaps those living in hidden villages didn't know. Perhaps the high and mighty ninja didn't know. But the commoners at the bottom understood all too well. They had no power to control their own fate. When disaster struck, it could mean utter ruin, whether from natural calamities or man-made ones. The Uzunin and the Konohanin both fell silent. "No." The elder murmured in disappointment when the ninja remained silent. The refugees behind him also lowered their heads in despair. They hadn't eaten in days. "No, it's not that we can't," the Uzunin suddenly said with a smile. The refugees' dim eyes lit up with hope again at the ninja's words. The elder trembled as he asked, "What do you need us to do?" "Whatever it was. As long as they could do it, as long as they wouldn't starve, they were willing to do anything. They were afraid of starvation." "We don't need you to do anything," the Uzunin shook his head and smiled. "Then?" the elder asked curiously. "Right now, Uzushiagakure is recruiting workers. Men, women, old, and young all can apply," the Uzunin said with a smile. 3 meals a day, food and lodging provided. This. The refugees stared at the ninja in shock. Is this true? Could such a good thing really exist? 3 meals a day, with food and lodging provided. Even during peacetime, they had never eaten 3 meals a day. 3 meals was something they couldn't even imagine. "Ninja-sama, is this true?" The elder snapped out of his daze and cautiously asked, "Don't deceive us." Before he could finish, the elder lowered his head in shame. Right now, what did they even have that the ninja would want to deceive them for? "Of course," the Uzunin smiled. "See this ninja beside me? Uzushiagakure is Konoha's ally. Do you know about Konohagakure? They are envoys of peace in the ninja world. They have always worked to maintain peace in the ninja world. Now that the Konohanin didn't dare cause trouble, perhaps this wasn't so bad. But then, one of the refugees timidly raised his hand and said, "But our homes were." The scene fell into silence. Especially the Konohanin, whose faces showed shame. These were citizens of the Land of Fire. Yet they had ended up like this because of the war between Konoha and other villages. But war was unavoidable. Konoha needed to develop, needed to resist invaders. But now that the war was over, Konoha couldn't do anything for them. In fact, under special circumstances, they might even kill them. You're making this very difficult for me. The Uzunin didn't know what to say. He glanced disdainfully at the ashamed Konohanin beside him and thought, at least they still have some conscience. Seeing the refugees growing fearful again at the silence, worried they had said something wrong and would now. The Uzunin quickly put on a solemn expression and said in an apologetic and ashamed tone, I'm sorry. As Konoha's ally, I apologize on their behalf for the suffering you've endured because of us. The Konohanin stared blankly at the shameless Uzunin, filled with emotion. The Uzumaki clan was no longer the one he knew. They had grown thick-skinned. Then, his expression changed to seriousness as he said, Konoha's mistakes don't need you to apologize for us. He took a step forward, and the refugees, thinking he was about to attack, shrank back in fear. I apologize to everyone here on behalf of Konoha. The Konohanin bowed deeply. The Uzunin chuckled awkwardly and muttered, not bad. He hadn't expected the Konohanin to actually apologize. Trust us, Uchiha really just wants to recruit workers, the Uzunin said, seeing the refugees' stunned and disbelieving expressions. Clearly, they couldn't believe that Ninja would apologize to them. He smiled and said, given your current situation, why not come and see? Maybe life will be better there. The refugees looked at each other, unsure what to decide. Finally, the elder tremblingly stepped forward and said, since we're all ready, we might as well go and see. Hearing their agreement, the Uzunin inwardly sighed in relief. The mission was finally complete. And this scene was playing out everywhere the Uzunin and Konohanin went to recruit. Chapter 84, When I Put on the Hat, I Become the Shadow. Damn it! Danzo directly tore apart the intelligence report handed to him by his subordinate, his face dark with anger as he shouted, what a bunch of useless trash! He looked down at the ninja kneeling on one knee before him. Is there anything else to report? The Hokage demands that you quickly gather the money owed. Hearing this, Danzo's face turned even more livid. His own men had been killed, and now he was being forced to pay? This was simply utterly humiliating. But as he looked at the kneeling Jonin before him, Danzo regained his composure. With an expressionless face, he turned to the ninja standing beside him and said, order the subordinates to deliver the money to the Hokage immediately. This money he would pay. Yes. The ninja responded. As for Uchiha, Danzo narrowed his eyes. He knew he could no longer send troops. So many Jonin, even elite Jonin, had been wiped out in exchange for just one Uzunin. No matter how he calculated it, the losses were far too great. A 7-year-old cage level. Danzo muttered. How terrifying. But what exactly were the Uzumaki planning? Were they really just recruiting people? And they were even offering such good treatment to those worthless refugees? Moreover, why were they constantly spreading propaganda in Konoha, specifically targeting scum? Danzo couldn't make sense of any of it, but it was precisely because of this that he felt uneasy. Uchiha definitely had a scheme. Continue monitoring Uchiha, but do not take action, Danzo said sinisterly. If you discover anything unusual, report it immediately. And make sure to retrieve the bodies of the root ninja. Have the interrogation unit examine them to see what information can be extracted, Danzo said, leaning back in his chair and closing his eyes. Hiruzen had refused to return the root ninjas' bodies, which meant he must have found something on them. Yes. The root ninja replied. Uzumaki Jun had no idea that his magnet release had led Konoha to suspect an alliance between Uchiha and Tsunade. If he had known, he would have immediately clarified his stance, declaring with absolute determination and unwavering loyalty. Uchiha is Konoha's most faithful ally. At least for now. As for Danzo's underhanded tactics, Jun had no intention of crushing him at this time. Having a fool like Danzo in Konoha was a rare blessing. If it weren't for his relentless habit of betraying his allies, would the other villages even have a chance to catch up? A high-ranking Konoha official who could shout everything is for Konoha, while simultaneously sabotaging the village's interests, there was probably only one such person. If Danzo were killed now, would the White Fang still die? Would the Sunin still leave? Would Shisui still be killed? Would Ataka still defect? And what about Yorawi? Oh, Yorawi was already part of Uchiha now. In any case, Danzo couldn't die yet. The other villages needed him to catch up to Konoha. If he died, and Konoha's strongest united under one banner, pushing forward with unwavering determination. What then? The other villages would be left in despair. At the very least, Danzo couldn't be killed until Uzushiagakure's reforms were complete and Minato took office. For now, Danzo was practically a friend to the other villages. He had dedicated himself to weakening Konoha, giving the other villages hope of catching up. In a way, he was also carrying on Hashirama's ideals, working tirelessly to maintain balance among the villages by betraying his own allies. How could such a good person be sacrificed? The only problem was that he was too meddlesome, always eyeing Uzushiagakure with ill intent. That part wasn't good. So, for now, the best option was to scare him into not acting rashly. Otherwise, this old schemer would keep plotting against Uzushiagakure. Sigh. Jun sighed helplessly. He just wanted to borrow Konoha's influence for a while. Konoha had been exploiting Uzushiagakure for years, so wasn't it only fair for Uzushiagakure to borrow their reputation now? Besides, in another sense, Danzo embodied a universally acknowledged spirit. Perseverance. Just think about how many years Danzo had struggled to become Hokage. Even in his 60s or 70s, he remained vigorous, fighting tirelessly for the dreams of his youth. In the end, he became the shortest-serving Hokage in Konoha's history, a Hokage whose face wasn't even carved into the Hokage monument before he died. If there were a top 10 most touching figures in the shinobi world list, setting aside all other factors and focusing solely on inspiring perseverance, Black Zetsu, Madara, and Danzo would undoubtedly rank at the top. One struggled for 1,000 years, another sought to maintain world peace even past 100 years old, and the last fought for decades just to become village leader. Such spirit deserved recognition. Young people these days were too impatient, always wanting to awaken the Sharingan with both eyes already at Tsutomu, and then unlocking the Mangeki to dominate the shinobi world the moment someone they loved died. Lord Jun, Kai said cautiously, noticing that Jun had spaced out again. The Uzunin have returned with the refugees. They're back. Jun snapped out of his thoughts and asked, were there any problems? Not exactly, but the refugees were terrified when they saw the ninja, Uzumaki Kai replied after a moment's thought. They didn't seem to believe our promises. It's fine, we'll take it slow, Jun said casually. We'll use love and courage to win them over. Kai had long grown accustomed to Jun's nonsensical remarks, so he remained silent. Oh, and remember, we absolutely cannot take in any talent suited for Konoha, Jun said seriously. They've already been kind enough to lend us their land, so we shouldn't steal their talent. The Konohanin listening in nearly rolled up their sleeves in anger, but after some consideration, they decided against it. They couldn't win this fight. They could only continue glaring with dark expressions. Understood, Kai nodded in acknowledgement. Assign the work to the subordinates over the next 2 days, Jun stretched lazily. We'll prepare to leave for Konoha. Just the 2 of us. Kai frowned. The clan head said. 2 is enough, Jun interrupted. If we need to escape, the 2 of us can manage. Otherwise, who knows who'd end up saving whom? Understood, Kai thought for a moment and agreed. After all, no matter what, he would protect Jun. And if any shinobi want to join Uzushiagakure, remember to seal their chakra and explain the situation clearly to them. Understood. Recruiting shinobi was necessary for Uzushiagakure, as the village was severely lacking in manpower. However, they had to be cautious. They couldn't afford to bring in a group of arrogant troublemakers who might disrupt the village's peace. They also had to watch out for spies from other villages. If they weren't careful, the enemy might infiltrate from within. Moreover, once the refugees entered Uzushiagakure, the communal food policy would need to be adjusted. Otherwise, productivity would suffer. So, we need to find something for them to do. Jun muttered to himself. Chapter 85, A Girl That Jun-sama Cares About. For the land of whirlpools. Today was an important day. The clan leader and the others had received notice that the first group of refugees would arrive in the land of whirlpools today. The ninjas stationed along the coastal line had already sent back word they had spotted the large ships of the land of whirlpools. Stand tall, look lively. Uzunin addressed his squad. Don't lose in spirit to the other teams. From this moment on, you are all squad leaders. Yes. The citizens responded to the supervisor's words, immediately straightening their backs and lifting their heads. Though they were just ordinary people. From this moment on, they were citizens of the land of whirlpools, representing the nation's dignity. They absolutely could not let others look down on them. Even an elderly man in his 60s or 70s, with white hair, straightened his posture, trying to appear more spirited and taller. Remember your tasks for today, the Uzunin said, looking at their small teams. First, take them to receive their clothing. Then, lead them to bathe, make sure they wash thoroughly. The bathhouses already have hot water prepared. Everyone will go in batches according to your team numbers. After washing, if anyone has health issues, take them to the medical department immediately. This is extremely important, the Uzunin said with a serious expression. If problems arise later, the squad leaders will be held responsible. Jun-sama had already warned them after a great disaster, there would surely be an epidemic. Though it was winter now, they still had to be cautious. If things weren't handled properly, it could lead to major problems. Yes. All the citizens stiffened their expressions, mimicking the ninja's manner of responding. Lastly, housing assignments. Each of you has a list of available residences. Assign them according to the situation. Separate men and women. Distribute the elderly among the younger ones. If there are families, they can apply for a small house to live in together. But remember, everything must be properly recorded. If problems arise later, the higher UPS will come to me, and I will come to you. The Uzunin spoke sternly. There could not be the slightest mistake in this, as no one could guarantee that there weren't spies from other villages among the refugees. Yes. After this is done, there won't be much else. Just help them get familiar with the environment. Make sure no one bullies the newcomers, this is a matter of principle. Yes. Now, stand properly. The ships are about to arrive. Seeing that everyone had remembered, the Uzunin nodded in satisfaction. Don't let others look down on us. The refugees sat on the deck, their eyes filled with both anticipation and fear. Anticipation for a new life, fear of the unknown. They weren't sure if the ninja's promises of 3 meals a day were true, or if there really were houses to live in and fields to farm. But in their desperation, they had no choice. Their only hope was, to fill their stomachs and avoid starvation. We're here, we're here. A child spotted a small island and asked excitedly, is that the land of whirlpools? Yes, a nearby ninja nodded with a smile. We've arrived. When you disembark, someone will guide you. Just follow their instructions. Hey! The child tilted his head in confusion. Aren't you coming with us? Of course we're going down, the ninja said. But we have other missions, so we won't be staying with you. Don't worry, as long as you don't break the rules, nothing bad will happen. The Uzunin smiled. Even if you accidentally do, the punishment won't be too severe, just a minor penalty. I see. The child frowned, then asked in a low voice, what about us? What can we do? The Uzunin looked down at the dispirited child and ruffled his hair. Don't worry, you'll find things you like to do. And the princess will take care of you. This child was an orphan. Perhaps because he was too young, he wasn't as afraid of ninjas as the others. After relaxing and realizing he wasn't in danger, he had run around the deck, gradually becoming familiar with the Uzunin on the ship. Shij, the Uzunin said, gazing at the approaching land of whirlpools. What's your dream? Me. Shij froze, then frowned as if pondering his dream. Finally. Does wanting to eat my fill count? Haha. The Uzunin laughed. Of course it does. But if that dream comes true, do you have any others? Other dreams? Shij thought for a moment, then shook his head blankly. No. Then go find one. The Uzunin looked at Shij seriously. Why do people live vivid, meaningful lives? It's because we have our own dreams. What's your dream, mister? Shij raised his head and asked curiously. Mister. Of course I have one. The Uzunin said helplessly. My dream is for the land of whirlpools to grow stronger, stronger than any other nation. And also. He flicked the child's forehead. Call me big brother. Or Kita nii. Ow. Shij rubbed his forehead. That hurt. Just then. We're here, the land of whirlpools is here. Other Uzunin shouted. Everyone, please disembark in an orderly fashion as directed by the Uzunin. Uzumaki Kita, hearing they had finally arrived, immediately regained his serious expression. Stay put. Remember, no running around. Then he turned and left. He still had other missions. Watching the refugees disembark one after another, the citizens of the land of Whirlpools grew slightly restless. Seeing their gaunt figures and hollow expressions, the citizens felt a pang of sorrow. If not for Jun-sama back then, perhaps they might have ended up the same way. Quiet. The Uzunin frowned and barked at the commotion. Immediately, the crowd settled down. The refugees saw a group of ninjas and civilians standing tall and confident before them. The sight of these people, brimming with energy and self-assurance, made the refugees hesitate, too afraid to step forward. They looked helplessly at the Uzunin who had brought them. What was going on? However, clan leader. The Uzunin had all gone to report to their superiors, paying them no mind. Someone would come to arrange things soon anyway. You've worked hard. The clan leader smiled. How is Jun? Jun-sama is doing well, the Uzunin replied respectfully. Good. You may rest now. The clan leader said. Leave the rest to us. He accepted the roster from the Uzunin with a smile. The Uzunin hesitated, as if there was more to say. Is there something else? Speak freely. The clan leader frowned. We don't stand on ceremony now. There's a little girl. Jun-sama seems particularly concerned about her. The Uzunin said carefully. He specifically asked for her to be assigned to learn medical ninjutsu. Hey! Chapter 86, On the Road to Konoha. Lord Clan Leader, please judge this fairly. An Uzunin walked away angrily, his face filled with rage as he spoke. Lord Hibiki is not assigning any personnel to us at all. All the other squads have them, so why is our coal-burning squad the only one without any? Don't you know we are severely understaffed? The clan leader put down the documents in his hands, looked up, and said, I remember a batch of people was already assigned to you last time during the glass production. How can you still be short on manpower? It's because the clan elders successfully developed the furnace and asked us to test its effectiveness. The Uzunin said. So we've already started working on the cement and brick production methods left by Lord Jun. Oh? Is that so? The clan elder rubbed the bridge of his nose, looking troubled as he asked, didn't Jun suggest having ninjas directly create the bricks? He also remembered Jun mentioning this before. It seemed that once everything stabilized, the nation's construction would begin. There are too few Earth-nature ninjas. The Uzunin sighed and said. Earth-nature ninjas are needed almost everywhere, so Lord Jun suggested producing some bricks first and having them start building houses during the winter. Hearing the Uzunin's explanation, the clan leader also felt helpless. The Uzumaki clan's primary affinities are water and wind natures, so earth-nature ninjas. For such a large-scale project, their numbers are practically a drop in the bucket. What did Hibiki say? The clan elder asked. Lord Hibiki said to let them first get accustomed to the lifestyle in Uzushiagakuer. The Uzunin said indignantly. After they've adapted, another batch will be assigned to us. But can't they just adapt while working in the coal-burning area? The clan leader looked at the Uzunin speechlessly, sighed, and said helplessly, if Hibiki arranged it this way, there must be a reason for it. Don't worry, there will be more people later. Your department will definitely get its share. Then, the Uzunin's face broke into a cheerful smile. What about now? Follow Hibiki's arrangements. Yes. Hearing the clan leader's stern tone, the Uzunin could only respond helplessly. It seemed there was no way to get more people this time. What a shame. The subordinates were all complaining too much work, too few people, and they simply couldn't keep up. Watching the Uzunin leave, the clan leader smiled and shook his head, then. It's going to be a busy time ahead. Looking at the pile of documents on his desk, he sighed helplessly. Take this. Yasunaka Yoshi took out a stack of cards and said. Each of you, take the one with your name on it. This is your temporary residence permit. If you want to stay in Uzushiagakuer later, you can apply for a Uzushiagakuer ID card. Temporary residence permit? ID card? After washing up, all the refugees looked somewhat more spirited. They took the small cards handed to them by their squad leader in confusion. They remembered being arranged to apply for temporary residence permits earlier. Was this the small card? They also recalled that they seemed to have dripped a drop of blood onto it. Yasunaka Yoshi looked at the group of refugees cheerfully, a sense of pride welling up in his heart. After all, they were people who ate 3 meals a day. They even had benefits on holidays. But what about these refugees? Don't worry. Coming to Uzushiagakuer means your good days are here. Yasunaka Yosh sighed and said. We in Uzushiagakure won't deceive you poor folks. Besides, becoming a citizen of Uzushiagakure isn't that easy. Then. The refugees pointed at themselves, confused. What do you need us to do? Our squad's tasks won't be too heavy. Yasunaka Yosh said. We just need to move trees. But everyone must be diligent. If the weekly evaluation shows insufficient progress. Yasunaka Yosh narrowed his eyes at them and didn't finish his sentence. Will we be beaten? A refugee timidly raised his hand and asked. Will we be killed? Haha. Yasunaka Yosh laughed and said. Of course not. You'll just be criticized. Don't worry. Ever since Lord Jun established the laws, Uzushiagakure has been governed by them. Whether civilians or ninjas, everyone must abide by the law. As long as you don't commit serious offenses, there won't be any problems. Of course, the supervisors and managers will give you dirty looks. Also, this will affect your contribution rating to Uzushiagakure. If you want to join Uzushiagakure later, your contributions will be taken into account. Then. Another refugee raised his hand and asked. Are you a ninja, sir? Ninja sir. Yasunaka Yosh froze for a moment, pointed at himself, and said. Are you talking about me? Yes. The refugee nodded. Haha, of course not. Yasunaka Yosh laughed, a nostalgic look on his face. If Lord Jun hadn't appeared, we'd probably be just like you. The refugees looked at him in confusion. However. Never mind, never mind. Yasunaka Yosh said cheerfully. You must all be hungry now. Let's go eat first. In the afternoon, I'll take you to familiarize yourselves with the work process. And remember, you must eat your fill. Eat as much as you can, because the work will be exhausting. But you absolutely must not waste food. Lady consort. An Uzunin led a group of children and said respectfully to the red-haired woman before him. These are the orphans from this batch, 13 in total. Uzumaki Myron glanced at the children and smiled. Then, looking at the Uzunin, she asked. How is Jun? Is he eating enough? Is he warm? Is anyone bullying him? Cold sweat broke out on the Uzunin's forehead. How could someone as powerful as Lord Jun possibly be bullied? Seeing the consort's anxious expression, he hurriedly said. No, Lord Jun is doing perfectly fine. That's good, that's good. Uzumaki Myron's heart finally relaxed. Her child was only 7 years old, yet he had to travel so far away. She said angrily. It's all his father's fault. Useless. Wandering around all day with the blueprints Jun left behind, saying he'll build the most beautiful house in the world. Doesn't he realize whose blueprints they are? Of course they're beautiful. The Uzunin quickly pretended not to hear and lowered his head. After the consort finished venting, he hurriedly said. There's also this little girl. Lord Jun said to arrange for her to receive medical nin training. Uzumaki Myron looked at the skinny, malnourished blonde girl and asked in confusion. Did Jun specifically request this? The Uzunin felt an uneasy premonition as 2 red-haired girls behind the consort stared at him sharply. But he still steeled himself and said. Yes. If that's the case. Uzumaki Myron nodded. I'll arrange it properly. Though she didn't fully understand what her child intended, she trusted Jun deeply. After all, he had been very sensible since childhood and never gave her any reason to worry. Then I shall take my leave. The Uzunin quickly said, preparing to slip away. The atmosphere was far too strange. Fine, fine. Uzumaki Myron waved her hand impatiently. Go ahead. We have other matters to attend to. Yes. Land of Fire. Uzumaki Jun was unaware of the events unfolding in Uzushiagakure. At the moment, he was traveling with Kai and a Konohanin on the road to Konoha. Since the refugee recruitment was proceeding smoothly and his presence wasn't strictly necessary, he decided to visit Konoha before returning to focus on nation building. We'll arrive in half a day. The Konohanin scanned the surroundings and said. We're about to enter Konoha's. However, before the Konoha Chunin could finish speaking. Boom. Chapter 87, Konoha has small tails and pointy mouths. Enemy attack. The remaining Konoha Jonin and Chunin immediately became alert upon hearing the explosion. They quickly flipped behind nearby trees to take defensive positions, then frowned as they looked at their comrade who had been blown to the ground. No need to guess, that guy was definitely finished. Who's there? The Konoha Jonin carefully scanned the surroundings but still couldn't detect anything. His heart tightened. It seemed these enemies had prepared well in advance. But was their target Uchiha or Konoha? He glanced at the Uzunin who had also taken cover. He wasn't worried about these two Uzumaki shinobi at all. After all, that 7-year-old kid was cage level, someone who had wiped out over a dozen Konoha and Bu Jonin. So, rather than worrying about others, it was better to focus on themselves. As for whether Uchiha would help them, the Konoha shinobi weren't sure. Their relationship wasn't as close as the so-called eternal friendship between Konoha and Uchiha. Stay alert. The Konoha Jonin said to the Chunin hiding beside him. If the situation turns bad, we retreat immediately. But the Uzu. The Chunin hesitated, speaking with reluctance. Don't mind them. The Jonin cut him off. They're safer than us. That was a cage-level fighter. Hearing his captain's words, the Chunin thought for a moment and agreed. There was no need to sacrifice their lives for the Uzumaki. There was no reward in it. He quickly nodded and replied, understood. Jun-sama, aren't you going to help? Uzumaki Kai frowned as he looked at the fallen Konoha Chunin. Otherwise, Konoha might. No need. Uzumaki Jun waved his hand. They're not here for us anyway. Not here for us? Uzumaki Kai looked at Jun in confusion. He didn't understand what Jun-sama meant. Or rather, how did Jun-sama know this wasn't an ambush targeting them? However, Jun didn't notice Kai's puzzled expression. His thumb, index, and middle fingers seemed to be pinching something as he murmured meaningfully, perhaps Uchiha will gain a new clan soon. Hearing Jun-sama's muttering, Kai focused his gaze. A struggling bee, its wings caught between Jun-sama's fingers. Dodge! Suddenly, the Konoha Jonin shouted sharply. The Chunin immediately backflipped away upon hearing the order. Though he didn't know why his captain had suddenly told them to evade, he knew it was best to follow orders. The moment he moved. Boom! The spot where he had been standing exploded violently. Explosive tags. The Chunin frowned. He hadn't sensed any explosive tags earlier. How had this happened? No. The Jonin shook his head grimly. Not explosive tags. He scanned the surroundings. I already know who the enemy is. It seems we're in serious danger this time. Bees. Uzumaki Kai stared in confusion at the small bee trapped in Jun's hand. Is this related to bees? Jun narrowed his eyes as he observed their surroundings and nodded. A group of professional beekeepers. I wonder if Uchiha can recruit them. The Kamizuru clan. In the world of Naruto, there were two major insect-controlling clans, Konoha's Aberame clan and Uegakure's Kamizuru clan. The Aberame clan had risen to prominence by crushing the Kamizuru clan during the First Shinobi War. It wasn't until Naruto's era, during the search for the Baikaku, that the Kamizuru clan reappeared with only a few remaining members. Camouflage concealment technique. Jun muttered, frowning. He couldn't find a single person nearby. No wonder the Kamizuru clan was nearly wiped out. The war was already over, yet they still dared to seek revenge against Konoha. Most likely, after this group was eliminated by Konoha, the clan's remaining strong fighters would be few. And this attack was probably unauthorized. No wonder so few survived in the end. Otherwise, was it possible that every last clansman, young and old, had joined the battle, leaving only 3 pitiful bees behind? That was impossible. No doubt about it, this was the Kamizuru clan. They must have acted without orders, and then the Tsuchikage sold them out. Find them. Jun narrowed his eyes. But don't hurt anyone. We're here to recruit, not to kill. Hearing Jun-sama's words, Kai was stunned. What about Konoha? The two Konoha shinobi were still dodging and weaving, unable to locate the enemy. Don't mind them. Jun said. They'll probably retreat once they realize they're outmatched. Indeed, without a tracking dog or Byakugan, detecting hidden enemies was far too difficult. Truly an A-rank concealment technique. A&D. They were nearing Konoha's borders. If the disturbance was noticed, Konoha's ANBU would arrive soon. So they had to act fast if they wanted to recruit anyone. Suddenly. Jun-sama. The Konoha Jonin shouted toward Jun's direction. Retreat. Then. Without looking back, he sprinted toward Konoha. Damn it! Kai and Jun stared dumbfounded as the two Konoha shinobi shouted once before fleeing without hesitation. This was an attempt to abandon them, using the two Uzumaki as decoys to cover their own retreat. Jun-sama. Kai frowned, waiting to see what Jun-sama would decide. But don't panic. Let them get farther away first. Jun remained vigilant as he spoke. Remember, we have nothing to do with Konoha. We're not taking the blame for this. Hearing Jun-sama's words, Kai was speechless. Weren't you always saying, Konoha and Uzushiagaku share eternal friendship? Why the sudden change of heart? At that moment, Jun threw a flying thunder god kunao and instantly vanished from his spot. The place where he had been standing. Boom! Erupted in a massive explosion. Kamizuru clan! Jun called out loudly. Look carefully, we are not Konoha shinobi. See this clan symbol? Konoha's symbol has a small tail and a pointy mouth. However, be needle jutsu. A low voice answered Jun. What a headache! Jun sighed helplessly before teleporting away again with the flying thunder god technique. Couldn't they just talk this out? Unable to locate anyone, he had no choice but to keep shouting. You can't hurt me. And most likely, Konoha's ANBU will arrive soon. Seeing the surroundings fall silent again, Jun continued. Think about your clansmen. Think about your family. If all of you die here, what will happen to your clan? Rustle. The sound of wind brushing through leaves echoed around them. Seeing that no further attacks came, Jun relaxed slightly. It was good that they could listen to reason. He had worried they might be too stubborn. And shouldn't they be chasing the fleeing Konoha shinobi instead? Couldn't they tell this clan symbol was different from Konoha's? You've got the wrong people. Take this. Jun tied a recruitment flyer he had hastily written earlier to a kunao and threw it. Read it, it might help you. Then, with Kai, he headed toward Konoha. Clan leader, we. A Kamizuru shinobi wearing an Uegaku forward protector asked nervously as he watched the Uzumaki leave. What now? Sigh. The Kamizuru leader glanced at Jun's retreating figure and sighed. Let's withdraw. We're pulling out. He knew the child was right. If their clan's last remaining strong fighters were lost here, then the Kamizuru clan would truly be finished. Especially since they had disobeyed the Tsuchikage's orders. Even if they returned, their fate would likely be. He looked at the kunao embedded in the tree. Retrieve that kunao. The Kamizuru leader sighed in resignation. Let's see what's written on it. Be careful. That boy was right. Perhaps this time we made a mistake. Chapter 88, Don't push things too far. Uzumaki Jun took Uzumaki Kai and directly left the encirclement of the Kamizuru clan, heading toward Konoha. Regarding Konoha's act of abandoning their allies, Uzumaki Jun expressed disdain. If you're going to run, then run. Why did you have to shout at him? Wasn't that just telling everyone that Uzumaki Jun was the key figure of this team? Even selling out allies wasn't done so blatantly. Besides, the land of Whirlpools and Konoha weren't even allies to begin with. Lord Jun, are we not recruiting anymore? Uzumaki Kai asked when he saw Uzumaki Jun leading them away without hesitation. Although Lord Jun had posted a recruitment notice. Wouldn't it be hard for people to believe without proper communication? It's fine. They probably won't have an easy time when they return to their village, Uzumaki Jun replied casually. They have no choice but to relocate if they want to survive. This was the peaceful period after the end of the First Great Ninja War. Every nation and village was digesting the gains from the war. Those who gained nothing were striving hard to catch up, hoping to win the next war. So the Kamizuru clan's ambush near Konoha was definitely unauthorized. Even if they weren't treated as traitors by the Tsuchikage upon returning, they wouldn't have an easy time. Didn't the Kamizuru clan later get reduced to just the B trio? And even then, they were a trio with questionable intelligence. Well, more accurately, two uncles and a girl. In the end, they were still wiped out by Konoha. Hearing Lord Jun's explanation, Uzumaki Kai stopped asking further. Lord Jun had his reasons for acting this way. As a shinobi, he didn't need excessive curiosity. But what about Konoha? Uzumaki Kai asked, still resentful about the Konoha Jainin selling them out. He never expected a Konoha Jainin to be so shameless. Were the relations between the land of Whirlpools and Konoha really that good? Absolutely not. No, wait. Konoha and the land of Whirlpools were supposed to be long-time allies. So Konoha's act of selling out their allies was disgraceful and unacceptable. If word got out, Konoha's mission volume would probably drop. No need to bother with them, Uzumaki Jun shook his head. It's better that they ran. We have no grudge against the Kamizuru clan anyway. With them gone, it'll be easier for us to recruit. After all, Konoha's Aberame clan and the Kamizuru clan are mortal enemies. So this time, we'll just say we knew nothing. After the Konoha shinobi sold us out. No, after they retreated, we followed suit and left immediately. Yes. Uzumaki Kai could only comply helplessly. It seemed they would have to settle the score another time. Just then. Swish swish. Several Konoha ANBU figures appeared, each standing on the trees, staring at Uzumaki Jun and Uzumaki Kai. Oh? Reinforcements. Uzumaki Kai sneered. Konoha probably wished the entire Uzumaki clan would die out. Lord Jun, Lord Kai, the Konoha Jainin who had fled earlier ignored Uzumaki Kai's mockery and stepped forward, speaking calmly. Where are the enemies? I went to bring backup. Faced with such shameless words, Uzumaki Jun simply ignored him. Backup? More like running into ANBU scouts along the way and bringing them here. I don't know, Uzumaki Jun shrugged. When you told me to retreat, I retreated. The Konoha Jainin narrowed his eyes. Did he think they were fools? If that were true, why did they arrive so late? But he couldn't press further, knowing the enemies had come for Konoha. The ANBU member nodded at the Konoha Jainin. Take them back to the village. I'll lead a team to investigate. Yes. Konoha. Ah. Sarutobi Hiruzen rubbed his temples and took a puff from his pipe, murmuring, the representatives from the land of Whirlpools should be arriving soon. He didn't know what impact the land of Whirlpools representatives would have on Konoha, but the Nine Tails issue did need to be resolved. Someone, Sarutobi Hiruzen called. Bring Shimura Dans here. Yes. A shadow flickered as a voice responded. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at the crystal ball in front of him, scanning the security situation around Konoha. Although the war had just ended, the villagers' mental state hadn't recovered yet. They were still immersed in the sorrow and fear of war. A heavy atmosphere was the common theme in all major villages now. This won't do, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. What was supposed to happen after a war? It was the best time for development, growth, and repopulation. But there was nothing he could do. The grief in their hearts could only fade with time, waiting for time to wash away their sorrow. Hiruzen, Dans walked in, frowning at his old friend. Why did you call me here? What was the reason for summoning him now? He had already paid the money. There shouldn't be any issues left. Unless there was another scapegoat. No, another matter that required his involvement. As Konoha's darkness, for the sake of the village, this scapegoat. No, this task. He would bear. No, accomplish. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff from his pipe, then raised his head, his sharp gaze fixed on Dans. After a long moment, he finally spoke slowly. Recently, the head of the Senju clan has been complaining that you keep causing trouble for them. He was almost driven mad by the Senju clan head's nagging. After all, the Senju were the clan of the first Hokage and the second Hokage. If you keep stirring up trouble, it puts me in a difficult position. The village needed peace and development now. There couldn't be any more mishaps. And they were practically pointing at his nose and calling him ungrateful. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and said, Koharu also mentioned it. This is our teacher's clan. Shinobi who disobey orders have no value, Dans retorted coldly, narrowing his eyes with a grim expression. But the Senju clan is. Sarutobi Hiruzen said helplessly. He didn't want to push things too far. After all, Konoha was founded by Lord Hashirama, and Lord Tobirama was his teacher. His teacher had sacrificed himself for them back then. Hiruzen, your control over the village. Dan sighed inwardly, disappointed that his old friend didn't understand him. Everything he did was for the sake of the village. Hearing Dan's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen rested his chin on his hands, deep in thought. He understood what Dan's meant. Why had he pushed Dans into the role of the scapegoat? No, the one who walked in darkness. It was because Konoha had too many clans, and they restricted the Hokage's authority. Although recent actions had forced these clans to rein in their behavior, the level of control still wasn't enough. If the Senju clan could be... Sarutobi Hiruzen took another puff from his pipe, his eyes narrowing slightly. Perhaps this was also an opportunity. An opportunity to fully consolidate power in the village. I never intended to do anything to our teacher's clan, Dan said flatly. All they need to do is hand over those who disobeyed orders and went to the land of whirlpools without permission. Sarutobi Hiruzen fell silent for a moment, then set down his pipe and sighed, as if conceding. This matter. Handle it as you see fit. But remember. The Senju are our teacher's clan. He didn't want to push things too far. Chapter 89, Someone is targeting the Senju. Clan leader, if it really comes to it, just hand me over. Senju Shikuma knelt before the deeply troubled clan leader, pressing his forehead to the ground with determination. Say this was our own reckless decision, unrelated to the clan. Recently, some of the younger generation in the clan had been taken away without reason, only to be returned just as inexplicably. He knew this was. Someone was targeting the Senju. If sacrificing myself can protect the clan, I won't hesitate. Senju Shikuma raised his head, resolute. Ah! The Senju clan leader sighed, gazing toward the Hokage rock with a bitter expression. This time, it's just an excuse. Whether you acted on your own or not, the Hokage-sama will make his move regardless. Lord Hashirama, Lord Tobirama. How ironic this is. The power of the clans in the village is too great, the Senju clan leader said, looking at the kneeling Shikuma. The Hokage-sama wants to control the village. That's why he established the Council of Elders. To manage the clans, he had Danzo form root. It's just that this time, our Senju clan happened to give the village an excuse. The Hokage-sama wants to intimidate the other clans, and our Senju clan. One of the two founding clans of the village. The Senju clan leader stared blankly at the faces carved into the Hokage rock, murmuring, happens to be the perfect target to send a message to the others. Hearing the clan leader's words, Senju Shikuma froze. Only now did he understand that the village's aggressive stance wasn't just punishment for them disobeying the Hokage's orders as shinobi. The real reason was. Then, our Senju clan. Senju Shikuma hesitated before saying, should still hand us over. That should be enough to intimidate the other clans. After all, if even the Senju clan was punished for their mistakes, what more could the other clans expect? Silence. The Senju clan leader's voice turned sharp. Our Senju clan has endured for 1,000 years, surviving the Warring States era. What kind of disaster haven't we faced? And yet, we've always persevered. Especially now, in the village founded by Lord Hashirama. The Senju clan does not betray its own to buy peace, the clan leader said coldly, his piercing gaze fixed on Shikuma. Not now, not ever. Tears welled in Senju Shikuma's eyes as he bowed his head in shame. I deeply apologize for disgracing the clan. No, you haven't, the Senju clan leader shook his head. None of you have. On the contrary, you upheld Lord Hashirama's honor and honored the agreement between the Senju and Uzumaki clans. Stand, the clan leader said with another sigh. Restrain the clan members for now. No more incidents. He knew the Hokage-sama and Danzo were waiting for the Senju clan to willingly hand over its own people. Yes. Senju Shikuma stood and bowed before stepping back. Just then. Clan leader, Shikuma-sama. A Senju clansman rushed in anxiously. What is it? The clan leader frowned. The ANBU have arrived. They're demanding we hand over the clansman who violated orders, the clansman reported. Also. Lady Tsunade has returned. The clan leader's brow furrowed further. Finally. Ignore the ANBU. As for Tsunade. The Senju clan leader sighed helplessly. This matter. Don't tell her. Yoshi-san, a refugee carrying a log asked the small old man in front of him, I heard more people are arriving this afternoon. Is that true? Yazunaka Yoshi directed the log carriers without turning his head. Yes, more are coming this afternoon. I might not be here then, so don't slack off. And also. Call me captain. Haha, of course, the refugee chuckled. Don't worry, we'll work hard. We won't embarrass you. This time, we should be able to win the Advanced Work Team Award, right? You brat! Yazunaka Yosh placed the log in its designated spot before kicking the middle-aged man lightly. Always so full of yourself. Exactly, old man Yosh, don't listen to Terra here, another man chimed in. Just tell us, do we have a chance this time? You lot. Yazunaka Yosh looked around at the curious faces, from teenagers to men in their 30s, and sighed. The supervisor told me, this time. We made it. Yet. Cheers erupted instantly. All right, all right. Yazunaka Yosh quickly calmed them. Don't get complacent. There's still tomorrow. Keep working hard. Right, right. Work hard. This time, we'll crush that team next to us, Terra said fiercely. Last time they won and rubbed it in our faces. Now it's our turn. Exactly, let's get back to work. Yeah, then we'll shove it in their faces. The whole team buzzed with excitement. These brats! Watching them, Yazunaka Yosh shook his head with a smile. He remembered how lost, numb, and terrified they'd been when they first arrived. But as they adjusted and started working, they became cheerful and optimistic. This isn't bad. Always smiling feels good. Yazunaka Yosh clasped his hands behind his back, smiling as he watched the team resume work. Terra, come here. What is it, old man Yosh? Terra walked over, confused. He still had work to do. You were part of the first group, right? Yet. Terra nodded, puzzled. Been here about 10 days now. Back then, they'd been scared, lost, and uncertain about the future. But now, life in Uzushiagakure was good. Terra's eyes hardened with resolve. I'll work even harder. Maybe I can apply for Uzushio citizenship soon. The higher UPS said there's been an influx of refugees lately, Yazunaka Yosh said. We're short on team leaders. They're hoping. Before he could finish, Terra gasped. You mean? I could. Yazunaka Yosh smiled and nodded. I've been watching you. You work hard every day, get along with everyone, and the other day, you asked how to turn a temporary pass into a residence permit, to become a citizen of Uzushio. Yes, yes. Terra nodded eagerly. Then keep working hard. See if you can apply for citizenship first. Only with an ID can you get a residence permit, Yazunaka Yosh said warmly. And this time is your chance. Chapter 90, The Uzumaki Clan, I Can No Longer Control. Konoha. A prosperous, peaceful village. Representing the military strength of the Land of Fire, the most powerful of the 5 great nations, hailed as the strongest hidden village. A small rural village? Now, this once tranquil village is also immersed in the sorrow of the war that just ended. Uzumaki Jun looked at the wooden gate before him, adorned with the familiar Konoha village emblem, and a look of reminiscence crossed his face. Finally, he was seeing the real thing. In his past life, he had only ever seen it on TV. He still remembered the 2 gatekeepers of Konoha, who seemed to survive all the way into the Burrito era. Their vitality was truly tenacious. Uzumaki Jun sneered as he glanced at the Uzumaki symbol above. Hailed as the village of the strongest Hokage and the most prosperous era. Ha! This was nothing more than a fabrication to consolidate political power. After all, when the short-lived Danzo, the unrecognized 6th Hokage, died just before the 4th Great Shinobi War began, what did the 2 shameless high-ranking elders of Konoha say? One was the light of Konoha, and the other was the darkness of Konoha. Together, they built Konoha's golden age. These words were truly disgusting. Even if they wanted to make their political achievements look better, they couldn't just boast like that. They outright called it the strongest and most prosperous era. It was just like how Six Paths Madara hyped up Might Guy's 8 Gates all to flaunt his own status as the strongest in the shinobi world. What I acknowledge you as the strongest in Taijutsu was nothing but empty praise. Didn't you see? Guy went all out with a flurry of moves, but in the end, he was nearly dead, and the damage he dealt didn't even outpace Madara's regeneration. Those 2 old fossils were probably the same. By hyping up Konoha's light and darkness, they were hyping themselves up. And later, the title of strongest Hokage that appeared was likely just their own propaganda. After all, they were from the same class, grew up together, and were both high-ranking officials in Konoha. If even the Hokage was that amazing, how could they be weak? Hearing that they were classmates of the strongest Hokage from the strongest hidden village, people would probably be too scared to move. And those two old fossils were still stirring up trouble even in the Boruto era, restricting Naruto's authority. Uzumaki Jun couldn't help but sigh inwardly. They really lived long enough. Lord Jun, please wait a moment, the Konoha Jonin said casually. We need to inform the Hokage. Uzumaki Kai and Uzumaki Jun narrowed their eyes upon hearing this. Especially Uzumaki Kai, who was about to roll up his sleeves and throw hands. What did he mean by inform the Hokage? The reason the Uzumaki clan had come to Konoha was at the Hokage's request in the first place. There was no way the gatekeepers didn't know. His words were a slap to the face of Uchiha. But Uzumaki Jun stopped Uzumaki Kai. Right now, Uchiha couldn't afford to appear too aggressive. Playing weak was the best strategy. It was better not to cause trouble. Besides, Konoha's reputation was still quite useful. There was no need to sour relations now. All right, Uzumaki Jun replied with a faint smile. Then should we return to Uchiha first and let you inform the Hokage properly? The Konoha Jonin didn't seem bothered by Uzumaki Jun's words. A cage had the dignity of a cage, and it wasn't something a mere Jonin could threaten. So, the Hokage has already notified us, the Konoha gatekeeper said with a smile, stepping forward. Jonin Werika was unaware because he was on a mission. Our deepest apologies. Hearing the gatekeeper's words, Uzumaki Jun didn't press further. He simply nodded lightly and said, then may we enter now? Of course. The gatekeeper said. We hope you enjoy your stay in Konoha. Then, he turned to Werika. Sorry for the trouble, Lord Werika. Werika shrugged and nodded at the gatekeeper. You've worked hard. He had only been testing the temperament of Uchiha cage. This was also the Hokage's order. After all, the kid was only 7 years old. They wanted to gauge Uzumaki Jun's mindset. A 7-year-old cage. It was terrifying. Who knew if he might surpass Lord Hashirama in the future? So they had to be cautious about everything regarding him. Let's go, Uzumaki Jun said, ignoring the silent exchange between the Konoha shinobi. He led Uzumaki Kai inside. As Uzumaki Jun and the others left. So that's the 7-year-old cage. One gatekeeper murmured, watching the small figure disappear into the distance. It's simply unbelievable. Indeed, the other gatekeeper agreed. The realm of geniuses defies all logic. But this is just too demoralizing, the first gatekeeper grumbled. Want to grab some ramen after our shift to recover? Sure. Hokage-sama. A Konoha Anbu knelt on one knee before Hiruzen Sarutobi. The people from Uchiha have arrived. So they've finally come. Hiruzen took a slow drag from his pipe. Dispatch Anbu to monitor them. Report every movement immediately. Yes. Watching the Anbu leave. Hiruzen sighed heavily. He didn't know whether his decision was right or wrong, but everything he did was for Konoha's prosperity. He had no regrets. If it's for the village, any sacrifice is worth it. Hiruzen declared firmly. Lady Mito, the people from Uchiha have arrived, a maidservant said respectfully as she entered. They're here. Mito Uzumaki murmured, her gaze distant. What was meant to come has finally arrived. She looked up at the maidservant. What are they doing now? And has the Uzumaki clan's cage come? They are touring Konoha, the maidservant replied with a smile. That 7-year-old child? He's so young. Who would have thought he'd be so strong? It's simply unimaginable. Mito sighed wistfully. The Uzumaki, the Senju, and the Uchiha are all clans with millennia of history. Each has its own ninjutsu, its own strongest. Like Hashirama, Tobirama, Madara. And in this generation, for the Uzumaki, that person is me. But back then, I left the Uzumaki clan, leading to the situation they face today. Now, the Uzumaki clan finally has a cage again. A faint smile appeared on Mito's face. At least now, they won't have to worry about others coveting them. Lady Mito seems happy to see a junior from her clan, the maidservant remarked warmly. Is that so? Mito murmured, her expression conflicted. She didn't know whether she should agree to Hiruzen's request, but the matter of the 9 tails had to be resolved. A peaceful world without war. That was Hashirama's dream. And her own longing. But the Uzumaki clan. Mito didn't know what to do. No matter what, the Uzumaki were her birth family. She. Send someone to inform that boy, Mito said, her eyes firm. I want to meet him. No matter what. The Uzumaki clan was no longer something she could decide for. She would leave it to the current Uzumaki Kage. Let him decide what to do. Yes. The maidservant replied. Chapter 91, What a Strange Country. What a strange country. A person hidden in the shadows, covering his chin and leaning against a tree, watched the situation in the land of whirlpools with curiosity and murmured, to think it still hasn't been destroyed despite all this. As expected of a clan rivaling the Senju and Uchiha. But Kakuzu frowned as he observed the peaceful scene. Ninjas working together with ordinary people. These Uzunin are really disgracing the name of shinobi. Using ninjutsu to build houses? Chop trees? Burn things? And what a shame. Kakuzu's face showed a regretful expression as he said, if the land of whirlpools hasn't been destroyed, then I won't be able to inherit its assets, will I? Then what was the point of rushing here so eagerly? To watch the land of whirlpools engage in large-scale construction? Don't joke around. He, Kakuzu, was a renowned assassin in the shinobi world. He didn't have time for such trivial matters. After all, he was someone who made millions in the blink of an eye. Kirigakure is truly useless. Kakuzu sneered. They can't even destroy a small country, yet they call themselves one of the 5 great shinobi villages. How laughable. Even with a Kage, it's just a 7-year-old Kage. And they were still stopped by such a country. Humph. But a 7-year-old Kage. Kakuzu murmured. It seems the next god of shinobi is here. He pulled out a slightly worn recruitment letter. A faint smile appeared on Kakuzu's face. Perhaps this isn't so bad after all. Peace. What a desirable thing. But what on earth is written on that red banner? Kamaki-sama, it seems someone is watching us from the shadows. Uzunin frowned and said, the sensor ninjas have detected it. Uzumaki Kamaki nodded solemnly. I've already noticed. He doesn't seem to be trying to hide his presence. This is a strong opponent. But we don't know if he's friend or foe. Then, Kamaki-sama, should we? The Uzunin, understanding the gravity of the situation, asked cautiously. No. Uzumaki Kamaki shook his head. You are no match for him. Inform the clan head and have everyone evacuate. Also, notify the clan elders. Here. We absolutely cannot afford any accidents. This was what he had promised Kai, what he had promised Jun-sama. Yes. The Uzunin responded seriously and immediately went to prepare. Uzumaki Jun had no idea Kakuzu had arrived at this time. If he had known, he would have waited until the situation with Kakuzu was resolved before coming to Konoha. After all, Kakuzu was extremely powerful, and with his intentions unclear, the land of whirlpools was in great danger. He had no idea how the Akatsuki organization would later recruit Kakuzu and make him work tirelessly for them. Was it because of Akatsuki's financial control? If so, the land of whirlpools had a good chance too. If it was through force. He wasn't sure if the clan elders could handle it. If they couldn't defeat him, the land of whirlpools would face a disaster. After all, the country was currently under construction. If a battle broke out, countless lives could be lost, and it would affect his reputation collection. His reputation had been steadily increasing lately, and he didn't want any unexpected setbacks. Of course. Right now, Uzumaki Jun knew nothing. He was leisurely strolling through Konoha with Kai, curiously observing everything. Konoha after the First Shinobi World War wasn't as prosperous as it was after Naruto's birth. The buildings were still low and simple, without the advanced technology of the future. But everything was well-equipped: weapon shops, pet shops, food stores, everything was complete, like a small nation unto itself. How enviable! In comparison, the land of whirlpools, as a country, still had to import many things from Konoha. As expected of Konoha, the strongest shinobi village. Uzumaki Jun sighed in admiration. It's truly enviable. The Konoha Jainin beside him, hearing someone praise his village, curled his lips slightly into a smile. His gaze drifted toward the Hokage monument, looking at the faces of the past Hokages, and he couldn't help but feel emotional. After all, this was the village founded by the god of shinobi, Hashirama-sama. Of course it was the strongest. If he weren't familiar with the plot, Uzumaki Jun wouldn't believe that such a warm and peaceful village could harbor such darkness, forcing people to commit suicide or slaughtering entire families at the slightest provocation. A place without legal restraints was truly terrifying. Just one word from someone in power, and anyone deemed a potential threat would be crushed mercilessly. And it didn't matter if they were civilians or shinobi, if they were associated, they would. The scariest part was how the higher ups all nodded in agreement. Jun-sama, where should we go next? Kai asked. He didn't care about Konoha's situation. He had been here on missions before and found nothing special about it. Besides, Konoha's relationship with the land of Whirlpools was tense right now. They should finish their business quickly and leave. Otherwise, something unexpected might happen. No rush. It's good to look around a bit. Uzumaki Jun smiled. If anything comes up, the Konoha people will notify us. And how can we come to Konoha without trying Ichiraku ramen? It's a specialty here. What are the Uzumaki shinobi doing? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked the ANBU in front of him, frowning. Anything unusual? They're eating ramen. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused, then asked again, nothing else? No. The ANBU Jainin replied. But there seems to be another group of ANBU monitoring the area. Another group of ANBU? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. Rude. He hadn't sent a second ANBU team. So, identical uniforms. Could only mean route. What is Dan's planning this time? Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered. This was a critical moment. Nothing could go wrong. Continue surveillance, and keep an eye on the other ANBU team. If they... Yes. The ANBU Jainin's expression sharpened. Though the Hokage hadn't finished his sentence, he understood. It seemed the other team wasn't. ANBU. Just then. Hokage-sama. A Konoha Jainin entered and bowed respectfully. What is it? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Lady Mito requests to meet the Uzumaki clansmen. Chapter 92, given as a gift to the 4 great shinobi villages. Senju compound. Just as Uzumaki Jun finished eating noodles, a Konoha Anbu appeared, saying that his ancestor, Uzumaki Mito, wanted to meet him and asked him to go immediately. Uzumaki Jun was helpless. He had just started his sightseeing trip when someone told him to skip straight to the last stop, hurry up, and leave. It really ruined the mood. Looking at the place where the Senju clan lived, he had to admit. As one of the 2 great clans that founded Konoha, this place was huge. No wonder someone later wanted to take them down. It was probably because their land monopoly was too severe, hindering Konoha's development, which led to their downfall. Moreover, having clans with too much influence in the village was also problematic. It threatened the authority of the Hokage and disrupted the village's stability. Lord Jun. The guards of the Senju clan seemed to have been notified in advance. They opened the gate and bowed respectfully. Please come in. Uzumaki Jun followed the guide toward Uzumaki Mito. As for Uzumaki Kai? He wasn't brought along, as if intentionally separated. It seems this matter is a bit troublesome. Uzumaki Jun rubbed his chin and muttered. They probably want to discuss the 9 tails. Otherwise, why would they summon him so formally and isolate Uzumaki Kai? It must be something confidential. And since it was Mito who wanted to see him. Aside from the 9 tails, Uzumaki Jun couldn't think of anything else. Could it really just be an ancestor wanting to see her descendant? Don't joke around. If that were the case, why had Uzumaki Mito never returned to Uzushiagakure even once, instead staying in Konoha to manage Hashirama's affairs? We're here. The Anbu Jonin said, then immediately left. As a direct subordinate of the Hokage, he didn't need to show respect to anyone else. Now that he had brought Uzumaki Jun here, his mission was complete. Uzumaki Jun didn't pay him any mind. Looking at the tightly shut door, he sighed and knocked. He didn't know how Konoha would try to persuade him, but as the ruler of Uzushiagakure, there were some things he couldn't agree to. Creak. The door opened, revealing a woman in her 50s who smiled and said, "Are you Lord Jun?" "Hello." Uzumaki Jun recognized her as Mito's maid from her red hair and smiled in return. "Please come in," the maid said. "Lady Mito has been waiting for a long time." Uzumaki Jun stepped inside. He knew that from this moment on, he represented Uchiha, while Uzumaki Mito represented Konoha. He couldn't disgrace the Uzumaki clan or Uchiha. Perhaps Uzumaki Mito still cared for the Uzumaki clan in her heart, but when she ignored the clan's crisis and silently allowed Konoha to abandon them, Uzumaki Jun knew that Uzumaki Mito was no longer part of the Uzumaki clan. To the clan and Uchiha, she was now just a friendly outsider who shared their surname. "You're here." Uzumaki Mito sat on the bed, smiling at Uzumaki Jun, the current leader of the Uzumaki clan. "Hello, Grandmother Mito." Uzumaki Jun also smiled. "Good, good." Uzumaki Mito's eyes crinkled with joy. "Child, come sit." Uzumaki Jun walked to the table in front of her and sat down, smiling without any fear despite facing someone known as the strongest in the shinobi world. After all, he had a system. "How is Uchiha now?" Uzumaki Mito hesitated before sighing. "Is everything all right?" She knew that when she agreed to become a Jinchuriki and succeeded, she had dragged the Uzumaki clan into a whirlpool. No one, no village, could resist coveting such power. But she hadn't gone to help Uchiha. This was her guilt. The Uzumaki clan had never wronged Konoha, but Konoha had wronged the Uzumaki clan. "Everything is fine," Uzumaki Jun said. "After the war, we began rebuilding. It should recover soon." "That's good." Uzumaki Mito felt slightly relieved, her guilt lessening a little. Looking at the 7-year-old boy, she couldn't help but marvel. So young. The shinobi world had never seen such a young powerhouse. Even Hashirama wasn't this strong at his age. "But do you, or rather..." Uzumaki Mito stared at Uzumaki Jun seriously. "Does the Uzumaki clan still hate Konoha?" "Hate? Of course they hated. Most of the Uzumaki clan wanted to destroy Konoha. But Uzumaki Jun naturally couldn't say that outright. Otherwise, he wouldn't be surprised if someone started plotting against Uchiha the moment he left. Like a certain kindly old man, or a certain scapegoat in the shadows. So, Uzumaki Jun put on a conflicted expression and sighed inwardly. Hate isn't the right word. Konoha acted for the sake of peace. No matter if it was right or wrong, as long as you said it was for peace, it became justified. Had. Uzumaki Mito chuckled and shook her head. She could tell Uzumaki Jun still resented Konoha, but he was just a child. It wasn't serious. As long as it wasn't hatred, time would heal his grievances. Especially for a 7-year-old. Though she didn't know how a child had become Kage level at this age. He was still just a child. This time, Konoha failed Uchiha. Uzumaki Mito sighed. But at that time, Konoha couldn't act recklessly. Peace is hard won. Hearing this, Uzumaki Jun was speechless. So, for the sake of peace, Konoha couldn't act and decided to gift Uchiha to the 4 great villages as a celebration of the war's end? How shameless! But Uzumaki Jun didn't say anything, remaining silent. He didn't know how to respond. They had already done it, what could he do now? But the Senju clan still sent aid, even if it was few in number. Uzumaki Mito said. This was all I could do. So, Uzumaki Jun had guessed that the Senju clan's assistance to Uchiha must have been tacitly approved by someone high up, likely Uzumaki Mito. She must have known the Senju would defy the Hokage's orders to help Uchiha. Though she never openly approved. She silently allowed it. Otherwise, the Senju wouldn't have sent so many jonin to the border just to watch. If they wanted to backstab, they would have sent route operatives or the Hokage's trusted men. Hearing Uzumaki Mito's explanation, Uzumaki Jun felt slightly better. At least she hadn't completely abandoned the Uzumaki clan. But do you know why I called you here? Now it was time for the real matter. Chapter 93, The Uzumaki clan will absolutely never become Jinchuriki. I am already old, Uzumaki Mito sighed and said. But sealed within my body is. Ah! It is not accepted by the world. Everyone fears it, is afraid of it, but how is it any different? Uzumaki Mito looked at Uzumaki Jun with a smile on her face. It is actually very lonely. No one embraces it or understands it. Now, I need to find a new place for it to reside, a place where it can be embraced and understood. So, Mito did not finish her words. Instead, she looked at him with a smile. Everything about Uzumaki and the Uzumaki clan was no longer within her control. After listening to Uzumaki Mito's words, Uzumaki Jun fell silent. What he really wanted to say was, although the Uzumaki clan was willing to accept Kurama, could he take the Jinchuriki back to his country? Uzumaki Jun knew that if he dared to speak up, Sarutobi Hiruzen would not hesitate to act. However, the idea of the Uzumaki clan becoming Jinchuriki for others was something Uzumaki Jun refused. The best solution now was to completely separate the concept of Jinchuriki from the Uzumaki clan. Otherwise, the Uzumaki clan would never know peace. This was also why he had the clan elders modify the sealing techniques to give the other villages hope. To make them understand that becoming a Jinchuriki did not necessarily require an Uzumaki. Other clans, even ordinary people, could do it. They had just been using the wrong methods. So. Sorry, Uzumaki Jun said after a moment of silence. The Uzumaki clan will absolutely never become Jinchuriki. At present, there was still no successful example of an ordinary person becoming a Jinchuriki. If the Uzumaki clan helped Konoha at this time, the other 4 great villages and the smaller villages would be furious, believing that the Uzumaki clan was deceiving them. The result would likely be the 5 villages uniting to destroy Uzumaki. And then, would Konoha intervene? So, expecting Uzumaki to provide a free Jinchuriki for Konoha? Don't even joke about it. Ah! Hearing Uzumaki Jun's refusal, Uzumaki Mito sighed. She had expected this, but she hadn't thought he would reject it so directly. Uzumaki Mito fell silent for a moment before helplessly asking, what if Konoha and Uchiha renew their alliance? Let's not even talk about that. Renew the alliance? As long as the 4 Konoha higher UPS remained unchanged, Uzumaki Jun didn't dare to get too close to them. These people were either shameless or ruthless, striking at their own without hesitation. Let alone outsiders like Uchiha. Who knew if they would end up being sold out without even realizing it? So. Uzumaki Jun remained silent and did not speak. Seeing his expression, Uzumaki Mito smiled bitterly and shook her head. It seemed he no longer trusted Konoha. But there was nothing to be done. Who could blame him when Konoha had ignored even Hashirama's agreements? If Uchiha had, perhaps Konoha could have used their alliance to take everything from Uchiha. But now that Uchiha was unharmed, Konoha could not openly move against them. However, if both Konoha and Uchiha. Uzumaki Mito felt a headache coming on, but she had no solution. Ever since Sarutobi Hiruzen became Hokage, she had remained here, no longer interfering in Konoha's policies. So, she had long been sidelined. Probably only the Senju clan still remembered her. Ah! How could the Nine Tails issue be resolved? Uzumaki Mito was also troubled. She knew that if this wasn't resolved, Sarutobi Hiruzen, especially Tobirama's other student, Danzo, would definitely. There is actually a way to solve this, Uzumaki Jun spoke up just as Uzumaki Mito was feeling distressed. It doesn't have to be an Uzumaki's physique to become a Jinchuriki. Ordinary people can do it too. Then, he formed a hand seal and used a summoning technique to retrieve the modified sealing technique the elders had casually developed from his system. This is a newly developed sealing technique by the elders that allows even ordinary people to become Jinchuriki. The only issue was the low success rate. But that didn't matter. Konoha had plenty of people, and with Danzo around to take the blame, if anything went wrong, Sarutobi Hiruzen could just pin it on him. It wouldn't affect the village's safety. Hearing Uzumaki Jun's words, Uzumaki Mito was stunned. Had the Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques advanced so much in just a few years? Had they really solved the problem of ordinary people becoming Jinchuriki? Shocked, she took the sealing technique scroll from Uzumaki Jun and opened it carefully to see what it was about. But then, Uzumaki Mito looked at Uzumaki Jun with a wry smile. As a master of sealing techniques, she could immediately tell what this technique was about. It strengthened the sealing effect and weakened the overflow of tailed beast chakra, allowing ordinary people to withstand the massive chakra of a tailed beast. However, this sealing technique had major limitations. For example, if the person couldn't endure the initial process of implanting the tailed beast into their body, they would. Uzumaki Mito pointed at Uzumaki Jun with a mix of amusement and exasperation. Who came up with this? The elders. Uzumaki Jun quickly replied. The 4 great villages and Takigaku already have this sealing technique. Uzumaki Mito fell silent upon hearing this. She understood what Uzumaki Jun meant. He intended to use this sealing technique to distance the Uzumaki clan from the tailed beasts, diverting attention away from them. But this sealing technique relied too much on luck. Ordinary people didn't have the Uzumaki clan's immense vitality or chakra. What would they use to suppress the tailed beast? Willpower? Don't even joke about that. They probably wouldn't even survive the first step. But the Uzumaki clan doesn't have many members left, Uzumaki Jun said, seeing the hesitation in Uzumaki Mito's eyes. He sighed. For Konoha's wars, most of the Uzumaki clan's strong fighters died on the battlefield. Now, within the country, there are very few shinobi left. And Konoha? Uzumaki Jun looked at Uzumaki Mito with an expression that said, "Only you have wronged Uchiha. The Uzumaki clan has never wronged you," and firmly declared, "No matter what, the Uzumaki clan will never become Jinchuriki again." Ah! Uzumaki Mito sighed guiltily and said helplessly, "I understand. I will speak to the Hokage. As for this sealing technique..." She smiled at Uzumaki Jun. "What does Konoha need to pay for it?" Hearing this, Uzumaki Jun's eyes lit up. It seemed Uzumaki Mito intended to help him sell this lie. After all, something given for free and something bought at a high price carried completely different meanings. If Konoha, like the other villages, spent a fortune to obtain this sealing technique, it would gain legitimacy. The acknowledgement of a sealing master Uzumaki Mito herself. Chapter 94, Then introduce me to the Uchiha. After everything was settled, Uzumaki Jun left Uzumaki Mito's place with a smile. As for what he obtained, one was the Yin seal. Uzumaki Jun did not find this jutsu in the Uzumaki clan's jutsu scrolls. He guessed it was a jutsu Uzumaki Mito developed herself, just like the mind's eye of the Kagura. Probably developed by that obsessed woman. This thing could be used as a power bank. It would definitely be very important for future jutsu technology development. Of course, another reason for exchanging things with Uzumaki Mito instead of directly asking was to show that Uchiha and Uzumaki Mito were no longer inseparable. It represented that Uzumaki Mito was on Konoha's side and did not harm Konoha's interests. The other jutsu was the telescope technique developed by Sarutobi Hiruzen for peeping, for patrolling the village. This was clearly a wireless surveillance device. After some modifications, it could probably be used as city surveillance. After seeing Uzumaki Jun out of Uzumaki Mito's small courtyard, the maid left because the Senju clan head wanted to meet Uzumaki Jun. Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes as he followed the Senju clan ninja. He guessed the Senju clan wanted to talk to him about immigration. However, the Senju clan would not immigrate so easily. Even if the clan head agreed, their elders and higher UPS would not agree. After all, this village was founded by Senju Hashirama. They loved this village deeply. They were even willing to dedicate their lives to Konoha. Just like the Uchiha clan back then. Fugaku had already awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, but still did not dare to use it. Although he did not stop his clansmen from clamoring to seize power, in the end, he did not harm Konoha and willingly died by his son's hand. Uzumaki Jun guessed Fugaku already knew it was no longer a matter of stopping it. Back then, becoming the police force was the Hokage's order. Now the villagers blamed the Uchiha, but no one from above stepped in to stop it. Instead, they added fuel to the fire, making people fear the Uchiha clan emblem, the fan. So Fugaku already knew the Uchiha would be destroyed. To prevent the village from being harmed, he silently endured everything and led the entire clan to their deaths. Thus, these two clans that founded the village, the clans that loved the village the most, were actually killed by their own people. Even if all the Senju clansmen agreed, Konoha would not agree. At that time, Konoha might use this as a reason to fight Uchiha to the death. Without absolute strength, some things could only be done secretly. Clan head, Lord Jun has arrived. The Senju ninja led Uzumaki Jun inside and said to the middle-aged man standing with his back to them. You may leave, the Senju clan head said lightly without turning around. Yes. The Senju ninja replied. Meanwhile, Uzumaki Jun watched the Senju clan head with interest. Black long hair. Just like the Yuki clan, black long hair. Senju clan head. Uzumaki Jun said with a smile. Call me Uncle Toshiki, Senju Toshiki said with a smile. And I'll call you Jun. Uzumaki Jun shrugged. Strictly speaking, Senju Toshiki was his elder. He said, "Uncle Toshiki." "Uncle." Senju Toshiki ignored Uzumaki Jun's address and put on a serious expression. "I've read the letter you had Shikuma deliver to me. But why do you think the Senju clan would leave the village founded by the Senju clan?" "Why? Of course because you'll die." Uzumaki Jun rolled his eyes. He couldn't say this reason now. Cursing a clan's destruction for no reason would only earn hatred. The Senju clan isn't doing well now, right? Uzumaki Jun sighed. When he came, he had already investigated. The Senju clan had been having trouble recently. Although the incidents weren't serious, it was damaging the Senju clan's dignity. Just like when Tobirama became Hokage and removed the Uchiha clan from the center of power, forbidding them from participating in Hokage elections. It was just to suppress the clans in the village. Evil chakra, extreme personalities. These were just excuses. Tobirama probably still held a grudge against Madara for trying to kill him. So after everyone died and he became Hokage, he dared to take revenge. Back when Madara's brother died, he still calmly cooperated with Hashirama. If not for later when Madara saw how foolish Hashirama was and lost hope for peace, would he have faked his death and defected? No way. When Madara was young, he even helped a little girl who fell in the village. If his face was too scary and frightened the little girl, the heartthrob back then wouldn't have been Hashirama. So except for a few who could smile, the Uchiha clan was mostly expressionless. Of course, due to Tobirama's policies, the Uchiha initially reached the peak of power but were kept away from the center of authority. Slowly, they were smeared. In the future, they would be in an awkward position. Until those above decided it was time to harvest, then they would act. What a clever move! Sigh. Senju Toshiki did not say anything, only sighing lightly. Recently, things had indeed been difficult. Those above wanted to force the Senju clan to back down to reduce their prestige. But the Senju clan founded Konoha, held 2 Hokage positions, and the third was Senju Tobirama's student. So how could the Senju clan's prestige be so easily reduced? And sacrificing clansmen to shift blame, the Senju clan would not do it. Back in the Warring States period, the Senju clan fought the Uchiha clan but never thought of sacrificing their own for peace, let alone now. Back then, his father told Hashirama to kill Tobirama or commit suicide. But his father did not betray his brother for peace. He chose to kill himself. As the Senju clan head, how could he sacrifice his own clansmen? No matter what. The Senju are Konoha's Senju. Senju Toshiki sighed. You're really ending the conversation here. Uzumaki Jun had a headache looking at them. Why were they so stubborn? Did they think Konoha's higher UPS were kind, or that Konoha's higher UPS couldn't wield a blade? The clan was destroyed, couldn't they just live somewhere else? Even if there were pursuers at first, as long as they escaped and some survived, they could continue to thrive. Why? And even if you wanted to join Uzushiagakuer now, Uzumaki Jun wouldn't dare to accept you. He was only here for Senju Shikuma and those few Senju who went to support them. Since they were being forced to death anyway, why not just become missing nin and go to Uzushiagakuer to shine? Then why did Uncle Toshiki call me here? Uzumaki Jun asked, feeling a toothache. Was it just to clearly tell him, the Senju clan won't elope with you, give up? He only wanted a few missing nin. Even if the whole clan wanted to join Uzushiagakuer, he would be afraid of provoking Konoha. However, the Senju clan will absolutely not betray Konoha under normal circumstances, Senju Toshiki said seriously, staring at Uzumaki Jun. So that's how it is. Uzumaki Jun nodded in understanding. Under normal circumstances, meaning abnormal circumstances would be fine. Then can you introduce me to the Uchiha clan? Senju Toshiki was stunned. This kid's appetite was so big. Recruiting both major clans, wasn't he afraid Konoha would settle accounts with him? Or did the Uzumaki clan have the ability to resist the strongest of the 5 great shinobi villages? And don't joke around. Although the Senju and Uchiha relations eased when Konoha was founded, after Tobirama. If he sent someone, the Uchiha might just kill them without listening. So, are you joking? Senju Toshiki asked in surprise. No, I just need someone to show me the way. Senju Toshiki shook his head helplessly. Fine then. He didn't know if his decision was right. With such a big appetite, Be careful not to choke. But... Bun, take this guest to the Uchiha clan. Thank you, Uncle Toshiki. Uzumaki Jun stood up with a smile. I'll go recruit people now. Senju Toshiki watched Uzumaki Jun leave helplessly. That brat. He looked down at where Uzumaki Jun had been sitting. Under the cushion was a black ring. Aku now. Not as foolish as a 7-year-old should be. Chapter 95, Do not neglect children's education. Regarding the fact that the Senju clan leader was being cunning and overlooked the Whirlpool country's intention to recruit only a few rogue ninjas, instead planning to eventually relocate the entire Senju clan to the Whirlpool country in the future. Uzumaki Jun approved of this. After all, by then, the Senju clan would probably have found a way to safely transport their people to the Whirlpool country without being detected by Konoha. They likely didn't want to confront Konoha either. Their hearts still loved Konoha. Uzumaki Jun followed behind Senju Aya, leisurely walking toward the Uchiha clan's territory. As for Uzumaki Kai, he wasn't worried. If there was any danger, Kai would immediately activate the Flying Thunder God technique seal. Moreover, as long as the Uzumaki clan hadn't committed any wrongdoing and Uzumaki Mito was still alive, Hiruzen Sarutobi probably wouldn't have the audacity to order the killing of an Uzumaki clansman. However, what should he say to the Uchiha clan? He had no idea. Because the Uzumaki clan and the Uchiha clan had no prior relationship. Lord Jun. Senju Aya said respectfully. The Uchiha clan's territory is just ahead. I will take my leave now. Uzumaki Jun casually waved his hand to indicate he understood. At this critical moment, the Senju clan shouldn't be seen wandering around the Uchiha clan's area. Otherwise, who knew what the higher UPS would think? The Senju clan secretly meeting with the Uchiha clan while accompanied by an Uzumaki clansman? Were the two founding clans of the village planning something big? Was the Senju clan dissatisfied with the Hokage's suppression and preparing to launch a coup? Rumors would likely spread like wildfire throughout the village. But... Uzumaki Jun looked around the forest in confusion. He had been walking for so long, yet he still hadn't reached the Uchiha clan's territory. The Senju clan was way too cautious. So... Uzumaki Jun stared blankly at his surroundings. Where was he now? Should he use the Flying Thunder God technique to return to the Senju clan and drag that bastard back to guide him properly? Just as Uzumaki Jun was deep in thought, suddenly... there was movement in the forest. Lord Hokage. An Anbu Jonin knelt before Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was smoking his pipe, and reported respectfully, Uzumaki Kai is still wandering around Konoha without doing anything. As for Uzumaki Jun, after leaving Lady Mito's presence, was invited by the Senju clan leader. The reason is still unknown. Hearing the Anbu's report, Hiruzen frowned and muttered, "What is the Senju clan planning?" Because they were the clan of Lord Hashirama and Lord Tobirama, the Anbu didn't dare act recklessly. Moreover, Lady Mito was still alive. Who would dare move against the Senju clan so easily? But... I wonder how Lady Mito's discussion went, Hiruzen murmured thoughtfully. Why are you going to the Uchiha clan? A young Uchiha girl frowned and looked at Uzumaki Jun curiously. Given that the Uchiha clan had long been infamous for their aggressive law enforcement and because of certain unfounded rumors circulating around, the Uchiha clan's relationship with the village wasn't exactly great. To discuss the future, Uzumaki Jun sighed. Couldn't this girl tell he wasn't from Konoha? Even though he wasn't wearing a headband from Uzushiagakuer, his clothes bore the Uzumaki clan's crest. Without the little mouth and tail. Discuss the future. The girl tilted her head in confusion. But the clan leader definitely won't see you. After all, this was just a little boy around her age. Why would the clan leader bother meeting him? The clan leader was very busy. It's fine. I'll just take a look at one of the two great clans that founded Konoha, Uzumaki Jun shrugged casually. He knew the Uchiha clan, full of stoic pretty boys, wouldn't just meet with a 7-year-old child. But... he wasn't an ordinary child. So Uzumaki Jun decided to give it a try. At the very least, he wanted to plant a seed in the Uchiha clan's minds. If they ever felt unwelcome in the village, they might remember there was a place willing to take them in. Besides, even if they ignored him, he had nothing to lose. The Whirlpool country's bloodline limits. Sigh. The Whirlpool country had no other clans besides the Uzumaki. If they wanted to keep up with the major villages in the early stages, bloodline limits were essential. I wonder what the Kamizuru clan is thinking? Right now, the Senju clan definitely wouldn't betray Konoha for the Whirlpool country, so the Whirlpool country was severely lacking in Earth-style ninjas. If the Kamizuru clan could join now, that would be great. Even if only a few dozen, or even just 10 or so, it would still be better than nothing. Better than training new ones from scratch. Especially Jonin. Talent was required. We're here. The Uchiha girl pointed at the Uchiha clan's large estate and asked curiously, how do you plan to get in? Knock on the door. Uzumaki Jun looked at her in surprise. Do I not need to knock? Was the Uchiha clan's gate so easy to enter? The girl stared at Uzumaki Jun speechlessly. She thought he had an appointment. Turns out he really was just trying his luck. Fine, I'll take you in, the girl said helplessly. But as for whether you'll get to see the clan leader, it's fine. Just getting inside is enough, Uzumaki Jun smiled. The rest could be figured out later. Even if he wandered around inside, he'd probably run into the Uchiha clan leader eventually. By the way, I never asked your name. Uzumaki Jun inquired. Such a kind-hearted Uchiha was rare. Uchiha Mikato, the girl replied. And yours? Uzumaki Jun didn't hear her next words because Uchiha Mikato, the mother of the other child of prophecy, a tragic woman who would one day be killed by her own eldest son. Sure, Itake was praised at a young age for having the mindset of a Kage or something. But how did he earn that title? By slaughtering his entire clan, men, women, and children alike. Truly, the Hokage was a twisted man. Ordering someone to kill their entire clan, then secretly praising them for having the mindset of a Kage for the sake of the village. Sigh. In the future, don't neglect your child's ideological education. Uzumaki Jun patted Uchiha Mikato's shoulder solemnly. For shinobi, strength is important, but ideological education is equally essential. Maybe he could ask Hiruzen Sarutobi for advice. After all, look how well he raised the other child of prophecy. Why you? Uchiha Mikato blushed. What child? She was still a child herself. No, don't misunderstand. Uzumaki Jun sighed. I meant in the future. Don't raise unfilial sons. What does that have to do with you? Uchiha Mikato lowered her head, her face burning. A boy suddenly talking to her about future children. She was still very shy. And they'd just met. Wasn't this moving too fast? Hey. Uzumaki Jun watched as Uchiha Mikato walked ahead of him, her pace quickening. Why are you walking so fast? So. Uzumaki Jun stared at the Uchiha clan's grand estate. After leading him inside, she just ran off with a red face? What was that about? Whatever, I'll just walk around myself, Uzumaki Jun sighed. Now, which way should he go? Maybe head toward whichever building or courtyard looked the biggest. Chapter 96, The Uchiha Shuriken Throwing is Unrivaled Under Heaven. So. Where is this place again? Uzumaki Jun looked confusedly at the small lake in front of him. Such a big clan, yet he hadn't run into a single person. What was going on? Had the Uchiha clan all gone into seclusion to train? And that little girl was really rude. She just brought a guest into her home and then disappeared? However, Uzumaki Jun didn't know that the girl was currently filled with regret. She had forgotten to ask the little boy's name. Wait, no, the real problem was that little boy had gotten lost. He was already so old, couldn't he have just followed her? Uchiha Mikato's face showed frustration. What would happen if the clan had found out she had carelessly brought someone in? She would definitely be punished. But where had he gone? Who are you? Just as Uzumaki Jun was about to head back to the gate to ask the guards, a voice suddenly spoke up behind him. Uzumaki Jun felt a surge of emotion inside. Finally, someone appeared. He turned around and saw a boy who looked about 7 years old, with a handsome face but a cold expression. He just looked a bit emotionless. Oh, hello. Uzumaki Jun quickly said. Since he was visiting someone else's home, it was best to be polite. Who exactly are you? The Uchiha boy frowned and asked. A 7-year-old child? Had he wandered in here by accident? What were the guards at the gate doing? Hadn't they noticed him? And That spiral crest! Was there a clan like that in Konoha? Uzumaki Jun thought for a moment and said, someone brought me in. Someone? Was he a friend of one of the clan's children? But who? The Uchiha boy asked with the same blank expression. How could someone bring a friend home and then disappear? He didn't remember the Uchiha being so lacking in manners. Sigh. Uzumaki Jun sighed helplessly and said, that's not the point. The point is I got lost. The Uchiha boy's forehead twitched. He could see that he was lost. The Uchiha compound was so big, of course someone unfamiliar with it would get lost. That's why he was asking who had brought him in, so he could take him back. Who let you in? The Uchiha boy frowned impatiently. Hearing this, Uzumaki Jun didn't dare to reveal Uchiha Mikato's name. What if she got punished? No matter what, she had brought him in, so he owed her for that. What do you want? Uzumaki Jun asked warily. Were the Uchiha really this unfriendly? Did they not welcome outsiders? To take you back to them. The Uchiha boy said flatly. Oh, so that's how it was. It seemed he had misunderstood. Even though the Uchiha had cold, expressionless faces, they were actually quite hospitable. That's not necessary. Uzumaki Jun smiled and said, I'd like to see your clan head. Can you announce me? Since he had finally run into someone, now was the best time to ask for directions. Why do you want to see the clan head? The Uchiha boy frowned. A random little boy suddenly appearing and asking to see the clan head. Had someone from the clan flipped his parents' stall and arrested them, and now he was here to plead for mercy? What are your parents' names? Hey! Uzumaki Jun was completely baffled by the Uchiha boy's question. Did he need to introduce his parents just to see the Uchiha clan head? This wasn't a matchmaking session. Never mind. The Uchiha boy sighed when he saw Uzumaki Jun's confusion. Just tell me your name. This kid was probably just a civilian, afraid to mention his parents' names. This wasn't a parent-teacher meeting. So what exactly was the meaning of this? Uzumaki Jun looked at the expressionless Uchiha in confusion. First, he asked for his parents' names, and now his own? What about you? Uzumaki Jun asked cautiously. Was this guy? The Uchiha's forehead twitched as he looked at this annoying kid. Finally. Uchiha Fugaku. The Uchiha said impatiently. Uzumaki Jun froze. What had he just said? What did you say? Uchiha Fugaku. Seeing the kid's stunned expression, Uchiha Fugaku nodded in satisfaction. So this kid had heard of the name of the Uchiha heir. The Uchiha name was indeed famous in Konoha. Wait. What kind of day was this? Had he just run into Sasuke's parents? Brother. Uzumaki Jun sighed and said, in the future, make sure to care more for your children. Don't push them too hard in ninja training, and make sure to teach them about life. You need to cultivate their worldview, values, and outlook on life from a young age. Otherwise, once they hit their rebellious phase, things could get messy. Uchiha Fugaku's forehead twitched as he stared at this kid who was spouting nonsense. He couldn't understand a single word of it. Annoyed, he said, just tell me your name. Uzumaki Jun. Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. Don't ignore what I just said, or you might end up with a family tragedy. After all, the infamous mother imprisoning incident that shocked the ninja world still hadn't been resolved. Uzumaki. A member of the Uzumaki clan. Uchiha Fugaku immediately became wary, staring at the little boy. He wasn't wearing a Konoha headband, but on his clothes. A spiral crest. So he really was from the Uzumaki clan. But why has the Uzumaki clan come here? Uchiha Fugaku stared at the 7-year-old boy cautiously, scanning the surroundings to confirm no one else was around before relaxing slightly. It seemed it was just this kid. I already said, I came to talk to your clan head. Oh, right now, that's your father about the future. Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. But talking to you works too. After all, it wasn't like the Uchiha clan would follow him back to Uzushiagaku now. And even if they dared, Uzumaki Jun wouldn't dare let them. Here, take this. Uzumaki Jun pulled out a pre-written recruitment letter, tied it to a kunao, and tossed it over, saying, you can read it yourself. But when Uchiha Fugaku saw a kunao flying toward him, he immediately drew his own kunao and clang. Uzumaki Jun's kunao was deflected and ended up Stuck in a rock by the lake. Uchiha Fugaku took 2 steps back, staring intently at the little boy. He had actually thrown a kunao at an Uchiha? Did he not know the Uchiha were unrivaled in kunao throwing? Just as he was about to show him what real kunao throwing looked like, Uzumaki Jun looked speechlessly at his deflected kunao. Did he really have to be so scared? It seemed the Uchiha had grown so insecure under Konoha's long-term oppression. He sighed and said, "Just pull it out and read it yourself. I'll be leaving now." Then, space-time ninjutsu. Uchiha Fugaku's hand, which had been about to throw a kunao, froze. He stared in shock at the spot where Uzumaki Jun had just been. This kid. Who is he? Chapter 97, Family Assets Confiscated, Children Bullied. Uchiha Fugaku watched warily as the Uzumaki child disappeared. He never expected such a young child to know space-time ninjutsu. Could it be a Uzumaki clan bloodline limit? Otherwise, how could such a young child? A genius. But he had never heard of the Uzumaki clan possessing any bloodline limits. Frowning, he glanced at the kunao embedded in the rockery and muttered, "What exactly is going on?" He walked over to the rockery and pulled out the specially crafted kunao, examining the seal on it. "What is this?" Uchiha Fugaku grew even more puzzled. There was even a piece of paper tied to it. Filled with curiosity, he slowly unfolded it. Uzushiagaku Alliance Introduction. Are you still suffering under your boss's oppression? Are you still enduring the village's exploitation? Are you still? If so, then why wait? Uzushiagaku sincerely invites. What kind of nonsense is this? Uchiha Fugaku's lips twitched. He couldn't understand any of it. What kind of mess was this? Just as he was about to tear it up. "Fugaku, what are you still doing here?" A deep voice sounded. "Today is the clan meeting. You need to attend. Stop dawdling." "Father." Uchiha Fugaku looked respectfully at the stern-faced man in a Uchiha fan-patterned kimono standing before him. What happened? The Uchiha clan head frowned at the strange kunao in Uchiha Fugaku's hand. What was that commotion earlier? A child from the Uzumaki clan suddenly appeared here, Uchiha Fugaku replied respectfully, handing over the special kunao. A child who knows space-time ninjutsu. But I don't know the reason. Space-time ninjutsu? A child from the Uzumaki clan? Could it be? The Uchiha clan head's heart skipped a beat as he took the specially crafted Flying Thunder God technique. The Uchiha clan head raised his head sharply and demanded, "Tell me exactly what happened just now." "Well..." Uchiha Fugaku was startled by his father's stern tone and quickly explained, "He said he wanted to talk to you about the future." "What future?" A child actually wanted to talk to the Uchiha clan head about the Uchiha clan's future? Was this a joke? The future? The Uchiha clan head frowned as he read the paper. Uzushiagaku Alliance Introduction. It must be that child. The 7-year-old Kage. But what business did he have with the Uchiha? Did he want to poach Konoha's people? How overconfident! The Uchiha clan head smirked coldly and shook his head. He looked at Uchiha Fugaku sternly and said, "Don't tell anyone about this. If Konoha's higher UPS found out, the Uchiha would likely be interrogated again. Especially recently." Sigh. The Uchiha clan head sighed deeply, staring at the alliance introduction in his hand. Finally, as if making a decision, he looked at his son solemnly and said, "Keep this safe. Hide it. If one day. But you must never tell anyone about this." Though Uchiha Fugaku didn't understand why his father was being so emotional, he still obeyed dutifully. "Yes, I understand." Kai. Uzumaki Jun patted Uzumaki Kai's shoulder. "Why come here instead of exploring the village? This place was just a bunch of trees." He had been wondering why he ended up in this small grove when he originally intended to go to Uzumaki Kai's location. So Uzumaki Kai was here sunbathing. "Konoha isn't that interesting," Uzumaki Kai said, stretching as he stood up. "Has Jun-sama finished his business?" "All done." Uzumaki Jun nodded. "Let's head back soon." Staying in Konoha was really uncomfortable. And if he lingered too long, what if the Hokage challenged him to a spar? "A tie?" Uzumaki Jun glanced at the Konoha Anbu hiding in the shadows and sighed helplessly. "Everything we do is being watched. What an unpleasant feeling. Should I drive them away?" Uzumaki Kai asked, frowning. Being watched by others was indeed unpleasant. Forget it, let's not cause trouble, Uzumaki Jun shook his head. We're leaving soon anyway. Alright. Uzumaki Kai nodded reluctantly. Since when did the Uzumaki clan need to be monitored when visiting Konoha? How ridiculous. Uzumaki Jun noticed a child training not far away. He hadn't yet learned to extract chakra and was only working on his physical endurance. That kid has been training here for a long time, Uzumaki Kai said, smiling at the child. He'll probably become an outstanding shinobi in the future. No matter what, hard-working children always earned recognition. Uzumaki Jun nodded. Indeed. The marks around showed that the child had been training here for quite some time, and the intensity wasn't light. But this child? Blonde hair? Could it really be such a coincidence? Uzumaki Jun was filled with doubt. Did he meet the parents of the future Sasuke in the morning and now the father of what could have been Naruto in the afternoon? I'll go take a look. Wait here, Uzumaki Jun said before using the body flicker technique to appear behind the blonde child. Training like this without proper nutrition will damage your body. Who? The blonde boy turned around at the voice and saw a child around his age. He immediately smiled and said, "Hello." Uzumaki Jun stared speechlessly at the blonde child. Now he was sure. That trademark sunny smile could only belong to the golden flash. "Hello, I'm Uzumaki Jun," Uzumaki Jun smiled. "Hello." The blonde child nodded, smiling back. Namikaze Minato. Indeed. The father of the would-be Naruto, future teacher of Kakashi and Obito, Namikaze Minato, the fourth Hokage who died young. Training like this isn't good, Uzumaki Jun said, looking at the marks around. Such intense training before learning to extract chakra, combined with, if your diet doesn't provide enough nutrients, it'll harm your body. Even Konoha's blue beast probably didn't train this hard before learning chakra. Haha. Minato scratched the back of his head and grinned. It's fine, I'm used to it. Then, he stared intently at Uzumaki Jun. You're strong. He could sense. The sudden appearance behind him just now must have been a ninjutsu. Uzumaki Jun nodded. About equal to the Hokage. This red-haired kid sure talks big. Namikaze Minato laughed awkwardly. No way, the Hokage is the strongest. And I will definitely become Hokage one day. Yep. Uzumaki Jun nodded. I believe you. Then, after becoming Hokage but dying before he could enjoy it, his family assets would be confiscated, his son bullied. And finally, the child would rise up and become Hokage. A perfect drama plot for the 6:30 p.m. time slot. But Naruto probably wouldn't exist now. You believe me? Minato's eyes lit up with joy. You really believe I can become Hokage? As an orphan, every time he voiced this goal, he was mocked. But this boy in front of him was the first to acknowledge his dream. Of course. Uzumaki Jun said. You will become Hokage. Here, I'll give you a gift. Chapter 98, a bit late. Hokage-sama. A Konoha Anbu Jonin knelt on one knee and reported, the Uzunin have left. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded lightly and asked, did anything strange happen? Nothing. The Anbu Jonin replied. But that Uzumaki Jun gave a child a scroll about chakra refinement. A child? Hiruzen frowned. Just a chakra refinement scroll. Yes. The Anbu Jonin nodded. He is an orphan from Konoha, and he trains in the mountains every day. A very persistent child. Then Hiruzen furrowed his brows. Could it be that the gift was given simply because the child was hardworking? That didn't seem likely. After all, no matter what, that child was still an orphan of Konoha. Bring that child here, Hiruzen said, taking a puff of his pipe. Do not harm him. Perhaps he was overthinking it. Land of Whirlpools. This is the last batch. A Uzunin respectfully addressed the Uzumaki clan head. They had been busy with maritime transport for the past month, and now it was finally coming to an end. You've worked hard. The Uzumaki clan head smiled as he took the documents listing the information of the refugees. Has Jun and the others returned yet? Jun-sama and Kai-sama have not returned yet, the Uzunin replied respectfully. But they should be back soon. I wonder how things will go in Konoha. The Uzumaki clan head frowned slightly. I hope nothing unexpected happens. It won't. Jun-sama is very strong. Haha. True. The Uzumaki clan head laughed. Jun is a cage-level shinobi. And he knows space-time ninjutsu. By the way, there are actually 13 shinobi in this batch. The Uzumaki clan head flipped through the refugee records in surprise. There's even a jonin among them. Have they all been properly informed? The Uzumaki clan head looked at the Uzunin seriously. And their chakra has been sealed, right? This matter couldn't be taken lightly. The land of Whirlpools had very strict policies regarding the admission of shinobi, as they wanted to avoid unnecessary dangers. It's all been sealed. The Uzunin nodded solemnly. We've also explained the laws and regulations of the land of Whirlpools to them, and they've promised not to cause trouble. Good. The Uzumaki clan head nodded in satisfaction. After this is over, you can rest. For now. Please endure a little longer. Yes. Kakuzu-sama, the amount of money you've given is really not enough. Gato looked at the man sitting behind the desk, chin resting on his hand as he reviewed documents, with a pained expression. Back then, Jun-sama also. Enough, enough. Kakuzu waved impatiently. I've been in trade and assassination for many years. I know the market prices. This amount is sufficient. But the war just ended, and everything is expensive now. Seeing Kakuzu's impatience, Gato could only complain further. And the quantity you need is far too large. Didn't you take a batch of goods with you? Kakuzu raised his head, puzzled. After selling those, the money should be enough. Gato stared speechlessly at the land of Whirlpool's finance minister. Did he not understand that goods had to be sold gradually? He needed so much, and he wanted it done quickly. How was that possible? There's no other way. You'll have to bear with it. Kakuzu sighed. The food reserves are depleting quickly. If we don't replenish them soon, chaos could break out. But the time. Take some Uzunin with you and transport them in batches. Kakuzu suggested. But Jun-sama. Ah. Kakuzu sighed helplessly upon hearing Gato's words. Then take your time. I'll discuss this with the Uzumaki clan head. They were already at cage level, and peace had been achieved. What was there to fear? Even if other villages wanted to steal, they wouldn't start a war now. At most, they'd act in secret. Then. Fine, fine. Kakuzu waved his hand. Do as you see fit. Just make sure the land of Whirlpools doesn't descend into chaos. Thank you, Kakuzu-sama. Gato bowed gratefully before leaving. Sigh. Kakuzu exhaled deeply and shook his head. I don't know if becoming the finance minister was the right decision. He had almost spent all his personal savings to cover the expenses. Opening a drawer, he took out a piece of paper and wrote. Year X of Konoha, the land of Whirlpools borrows funds from the finance minister Kakuzu-sama. Then, he carefully tucked it away. Looking at the pile of documents before him, all funding requests, Kakuzu rubbed his temples wearily before continuing to review the reasons for each application. Research on the scrollization and reusability of the lightweight boulder technique requires a batch of. Request for a batch of clothing. There were all kinds of requests. What a hassle. But this feeling isn't bad at all. Kakuzu narrowed his eyes slightly. Namikaze Minato was utterly confused as he was escorted back to the forest. He didn't understand why the Hokage wanted to see him or why he had to inspect the gift that red-haired child had given him. How strange. Was that child not just an ordinary kid? Well, it didn't matter. It had nothing to do with him, and the boy had given him a gift. And today. I'm so excited. Minato grinned. The Hokage himself had summoned him. Ha! Wait. Minato suddenly smacked his forehead and pulled out the gift from the red-haired child, a scroll. Chakra Refinement Manual. Hey? Why did it disappear? Minato flipped the scroll back and forth in confusion, muttering, I remember there was a sentence written here. It was something like. East of the tree with a cross, the third tree to the left, behind another tree to the left. Remember, don't tell anyone. Ah, that's it. Minato frowned in thought. But what is it? And why can't I tell anyone? He had even lied to the Hokage earlier. Why would that child ask him to keep it a secret? How odd. Minato stared at the scroll in his hand. Should I go take a look? The thought popped into his mind and refused to leave. Well, maybe later? Chapter 99, Why hasn't this Zetsu come out to recruit yet? Uzumaki Jun led Uzumaki Kai toward the border of the Land of Fire, heading in the direction of the Land of Whirlpools. As for why he didn't just use the Flying Thunder God technique to return, it was because Uzumaki Jun had a doubt in his heart. He was waiting for someone to come recruit him into an organization. Meanwhile, Uzumaki Kai found it completely reasonable. The shinobi world had a strange mentality where it seemed ninjutsu had to be reserved for critical moments. For everything else, traveling, casual conversations, camping, they generally avoided using ninjutsu recklessly. Perhaps it was because they feared running out of chakra and being unable to react if an unexpected situation arose. This was probably why ninjutsu was rarely applied to daily life. But why hasn't this Zetsu shown up yet? Uzumaki Jun was filled with doubt. Was it because he hadn't been making enough of a stir lately? Or did Zetsu look down on him, Uzumaki Jun? Did Zetsu think his strength wasn't enough? Why hadn't he come to recruit him yet? At this rate, he was about to return to the Land of Whirlpools. Was Zetsu secretly planning something? Waiting until a few of his relatives died to push him into darkness before appearing? Just like what happened with Nagato and Obito? The more Uzumaki Jun thought about it, the more it gave him a headache. You call yourselves a peace alliance, but why do you only recruit people who have either fallen into darkness or are artists with mental issues? This was a gathering of people with criminal records. Was it because only those who had committed crimes understood how hard won peace was? This wasn't an organization seeking peace in the shinobi world. It was clearly just a den of shady individuals. But how was he supposed to join their organization now? He, Uzumaki Jun, also wanted to contribute to the peace of the shinobi world. To become the first leader of a self-proclaimed peace organization, redefine the group's ideals, and guide these lost souls toward peace. Yet no one came to recruit him. He was almost at the Land of Whirlpools. Did he really have to achieve the milestone of his country's destruction and the death of most of his relatives before they would recruit him? The membership conditions were way too complicated. This is such a headache. Uzumaki Jun rubbed his temples. Unlike Obito, Nagato, or Itachi, he had no intention of walking that path. Besides, the future depicted in over 700 episodes had already proven that method wouldn't work. Forget it. If Zetsu didn't show up soon, he would just return to the Land of Whirlpools and forge his own path. Moreover, he never intended to directly copy Madara and Zetsu's method. Forcefully seizing the tailed beasts was far too dangerous. As long as he worked hard to develop the shinobi world, advanced technology, and promoted peace, rendering shinobi and tailed beasts obsolete, wouldn't he just be able to buy them from the villages with money later? Why bother scheming in the shadows? Uzumaki Jun just couldn't understand. When no one even knew what was going on, why did they immediately cast themselves as the villains? When they could have just blocked Nagato's ears and captured the tailed beasts one village at a time, why did they have to operate so slowly in the shadows? When Obito could have secretly infiltrated villages to kidnap their Jinchuriki, why did they have to reveal the organization's strength by sending 2 members at a time? So Zetsu simply had no brains. If the Akatsuki wanted to grow, it needed a new leader. Lord Jun, is something wrong? Uzumaki Kai seemed to notice Uzumaki Jun's distress and asked in confusion. Though he didn't understand why Lord Jun had acted so unusually toward that blonde kid in Konoha, as a shinobi, he didn't ask. But this time, Lord Jun seemed deeply troubled. Sigh, I want to join the shinobi world's peacekeeping force, but I can't find a recruiter. Uzumaki Jun sighed. Hey! Uzumaki Kai was even more confused upon hearing Lord Jun's words. He didn't understand. Ah, it's nothing. Uzumaki Jun snapped out of it and smiled. We'll reach the border soon. However, Uzumaki Jun's expression suddenly sharpened. He turned to Uzumaki Kai and said, wait for me up ahead. I'll catch up soon. Lord Jun. Uzumaki Kai wanted to refuse. After all, he had promised the clan head that no matter what happened, he would not leave Lord Jun's side. Just from Lord Jun's expression, he could tell something was wrong. It's fine. I just ran into an acquaintance. Uzumaki Jun smiled. Don't worry, I have space-time ninjutsu. Nothing will happen. But Uzumaki Kai had intended to refuse, but seeing Lord Jun's resolute expression, he could only nod reluctantly. Understood. Then, he turned and ran toward the border. Watching Uzumaki Kai leave, Uzumaki Jun scanned his surroundings and said coldly, "Come out." Finally, the recruiter had arrived. Land of Whirlpools. Everyone, hurry up. The daimyo, wearing a hat and holding a paper baton, watched the workers laying bricks below and said, "Tomorrow's a day off, but no slacking today." "Lord Daimyo, does what you said about drinking tonight still count?" a worker asked cheerfully. "It's been a while since any of us had a drink." Yet. An old man laying bricks nearby chuckled. "Lord Daimyo, don't go back on your word." "Of course. I am the former daimyo of the Land of Whirlpools, the father of the current daimyo," Uzumaki Ky declared proudly. "I've already submitted a request for the alcohol." He pulled out a slip from his pocket. "See this? This is the approved slip. Once the work is done, we'll go get it. Drink as much as you want. And call me supervisor," Uzumaki Ky shouted. Yet. The entire site erupted in cheers. All right, get back to work," Uzumaki Ky said sternly. "If today's workload isn't finished, no alcohol for anyone." Though he spoke proudly, he was sweating inside. This batch of alcohol had come from his private savings. Seriously? That new finance minister, didn't he know he was Uzumaki Jun's father? He had actually rejected his request for alcohol, saying something about not drinking during work hours. If they wanted to drink, they had to pay for it themselves. Sigh, good thing I hid this money where Myron wouldn't find it. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble. Uzumaki Ky lamented inwardly before shouting at the workers, "Hurry up. This batch of houses is extremely important. Earth Nature Shinobi, make sure the foundations are solid. Tajuna, keep a close eye on things. No mistakes allowed. You're the one who boasted about being a master architect. If something goes wrong, you're responsible." "Haha, got it, Supervisor Ky." A young man laughed. "I guarantee there won't be any problems. By the way, Supervisor Ky, what are these houses for?" Tajuna asked curiously. Originally, they were just simple wooden structures. Why were they suddenly building these, concrete two-story houses? Chapter 100, The Establishment of the Red Regime. Early morning, Land of Whirlpools, Central Square. After the winter's construction, the Land of Whirlpools, which had been reduced to ruins and potholes due to the devastation of war, slowly recovered. Various buildings, sturdier and more beautiful than before, now stood in their place. The central square was also built during the winter by the hands of countless refugees and the citizens of the Land of Whirlpools. Both shinobi and ordinary civilians. They relied on their own hands to construct this large square located in the center of the Land of Whirlpools. From the break of dawn, people began gathering in large numbers at the central square. Whether they were citizens of the Land of Whirlpools or newly joined refugees, whether they were shinobi or ordinary people, everyone gathered around the central square with high morale. The Land of Whirlpools was a small nation. Though life had been peaceful before the war, the civilians were still impoverished, living in simple houses that could barely shelter them from the wind. But now, those houses were gone. In their place stood uniformly designed two-story houses, adorned with delicate ceramic tiles on the outside, making them so beautiful and neat. The roads, which had once been muddy and difficult to traverse when it rained, were now replaced with asphalt roads built jointly by shinobi and ordinary civilians. All around, both ordinary civilians and shinobi wore expressions of excitement. They stared intently at the center of the central square, their eyes filled with anticipation, excitement, and hope for the future. Today was an important day. The cold winter had passed, the thick white snow had melted, and spring had quietly arrived today. Suddenly, the ceremonial music of the Uzumaki clan resounded across the central square. Grand, stirring, and unyielding, the music echoed throughout the Land of Whirlpools. Everyone gradually quieted down under the influence of the music, but their eyes remained fixed on the central square. Today was the Land of Whirlpools, recalling the nation's past. Uzumaki Jun led the Uzumaki clan and the high-ranking officials of the Land of Whirlpools, standing at the center of the square as he delivered his first speech to the surrounding citizens. This was the second time he had stood before all the citizens. The first time had been at the start of the war. This speech marked his formal assumption of the Land of Whirlpool's political power, unlike before when he had lacked any official authority. Moreover, this speech was necessary. For the land of whirlpools to unite, for hearts to come together, continuous reforms and speeches were required to achieve this. Back then, the land of whirlpools was in a state of war and chaos, with people's hearts in disarray. Faced with the might of Kirigakure, one of the 5 great shinobi villages, the land of whirlpools was afraid. Afraid of the nation's destruction, afraid of being scattered across the shinobi world, afraid of meaningless death. At this chaotic and terrifying moment, countless brave souls stepped forward. Because they feared no sacrifice, because they were willing to give their lives, we now have the land of whirlpools, as it is today. Looking at the citizens below who quietly listened to his speech, everyone currently within the land of whirlpools wore expressions of excitement. Uzumaki Jun clenched his fist, raised his right hand, and shouted, "Today, at the beginning of a new year, I declare the official establishment of the Republic of the Land of Whirlpools." As his voice fell, "Long live!" everyone cheered. Uzumaki Jun smiled faintly. This speech might one day be recorded in history, symbolizing the rebirth of the Land of Whirlpools and marking the establishment of the first Red regime in the shinobi world. Just like when the god of shinobi founded the system of one nation, one village. From this moment onward, the shinobi world might undergo a different kind of change. From this moment on, the masters of this nation will no longer be the daimyo, nor the clan leaders of any family, but all the people gathered here today. In the future, we will see you toiling diligently, working tirelessly in every industry of this nation. In the future, we will see you laboring without complaint, steadfastly pushing forward the stable operation of this nation. In the future, we will see you working diligently, dedicating yourselves at the forefront of this nation. In the future, it is you, it is us, it is the countless citizens of the land of whirlpools who will create the future of this nation. Who will create hope. Uzumaki Jun seemed to feel something and roared with all his strength. Instantly, the entire central square seemed to tremble. Everyone, whether ordinary civilians or shinobi, let out an incredible roar at this moment. Long live the land of whirlpools! Ah! Everyone cheered and rejoiced. See that, see that! A red-haired little girl excitedly raised her small fist, speaking to another red-haired girl and a blonde girl beside her. So cool! So cool! Big brother Jun is so cool! Yet! Uzumaki Kyoko nodded with a flushed face. Though her heart was pounding with excitement, she still tugged at Uzumaki Kushina beside her and whispered, "Calm down. After all the children from the orphanage are watching us." Ha ha ha! Kushina giggled foolishly but continued waving her little fist. "Don't you see? Everyone's excited, really excited." Yet, Uzumaki Kyoko and Yakushi Nono nodded slightly, but their gazes remained fixed on the figure at the center of the square. He seemed to radiate light, appearing even more magnificent and inspiring. Even greater reverence. Uzumaki Jun looked at the crowd below with satisfaction. It seemed everyone's spirits were high. He had consulted many materials and studied much red ideology to write this speech. He sighed inwardly, "Later, I'll build a library and put all these ideological guidebooks inside. Can't let them go to waste. And when the time comes for school exams, it must be clearly stated. This will be on the test. Lord Jun! Lord Jun! Lord Jun!" Listening to the cheers below, Uzumaki Jun also felt a surge of excitement. It seemed he could gather even more reputation points now, contributing further to the nation's construction. Waiting for the citizens' emotions to gradually calm, Uzumaki Jun spoke again, "From this moment on, the land of whirlpools establishes the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Food, the Ministry of Land and Resources. Konoha. Hiruzen, are you really not sending a representative?" Koharu Yudatan looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen beside her, who was frowning as he smoked his pipe. "No matter what, Konoha and the land of whirlpools are officially allies. The land of whirlpools is re-establishing its political system. By all reason, we should send a representative." Sigh. Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and sighed. "I've already sent Danzo." "Sent Danzo? Won't that cause problems?" Homura Mito Kato looked at his old friend with a pained expression. "That might not be appropriate." "It's fine. I've already warned him not to cause trouble," Hiruzen said wearily. He hadn't wanted to send Danzo either. But Danzo kept stirring up trouble, leaving him with no choice. And the Senju clan, why did they have to make things so tense? They could have just handed over those people for questioning. Leading a large group was no easy task. About the Senju clan, what do you plan to do? Koharu put down the documents in her hands and looked at Hiruzen seriously. Lately, the Senju clan hasn't dared to leave the village freely. Sigh. Hiruzen took another puff and looked back at Koharu with equal seriousness. That is the clan of our teacher. I have no intention of doing anything.
Thanks for listening.